Am I
And we
going?
are live.
Hello, old chum. If you stick around, you will hear about the Batman. He's kind of a big deal. The Phantasmagorium is pleased to welcome you to Capes, Cowls, and Crusaders, a show about the Batman.
The Batman.
And this is actually specifically about the film, The Batman.
Yeah, finally.
Well, yeah, I
We're at
haven't
the
seen.
end. We're at the end.
This is the one that I hadn't seen and I was anticipating, and so I'm so happy we're here.
So, to borrow a phrase from you, Scotty, off the hop, what was your initial reaction to the Batman?
The first hour is joyless,
Okay,
and
very,
then
very Fincher. I put the first hour as that's very Fincher esque.
hmm, yeah, sure, okay.
Mm. And then
I really like the first hour. It moves
me
along
too.
like a good mystery, reeling you in.
Did you like the so my one criticism of the movie was the like kind of over the top comic booky
Well,
third act? What did you think about it?
hang on.
I
Let's
know, I know. It's fine.
before we start drilling deep, my
No,
dude.
I didn't think we were drilling deep. I just kind of getting your thoughts off the hop.
Uh, what was the question? I apologize.
It's fine. Your initial reaction to the movie, not just the first hour, the whole as a whole.
I think that it is a Batman movie that I was put off of because it was sort of marketed and presented as being this is the dark. And
Hmm.
I don't know, like I thought that this was I there was something about the hyper real there was something about the marketing of it that I was like this looks joyless. And it was. It was a joyless film.
See, to me,
But when I saw it in the methodical context of Batman,
hmm.
I thought it was like it's an amazing Batman movie.
Yeah.
But in terms of this is a slog for people who are not invested in the psychology of Batman.
I understand. I think I get what you're saying there.
I didn't
Yeah.
think this one was as steeped in the psychology of him as, say, the Dark Knight trilogy was.
Yeah.
This is very much a noir detective story like all the Batman comics are, and it's like true to that. It doesn't feel like it's wasting any time in exposition. It just jumps right into the story, and it's like you're off to the races. It's a very leisurely pace. Didn't feel slow, but it wasn't really fast either. It just kind of
Methodical.
it moves along. I love the way they portray Gotham City. On the one hand, it looks real. It's not like over exaggerated in the design like in the Burton Schumacher films, but it's not recognizably Chicago or New York like from the
Right.
Nolan trilogy. It's like you could tell it's its own thing, and it does seem very seedy, which is
Mhm. Yeah.
respect for a place that Batman's in. Oh,
Cat Cat, may I technical note?
yeah,
You are not sounding as good as you usually do.
meaning
Your microphone sound I can't hear your voice
Well,
is what I'm
tinny.
saying.
Yeah.
well, I'm the same mic I always use. I haven't changed anything.
You
Nothing.
know what? All you did was hit it and it works again. We're good.
Yep. So Scotty, this felt to me. If you read year one and even some of the year two stuff, this is definitely year two, and I
Mhm.
can see where people might be a little put off because they're used to seeing, fully formed, fully, into his prime Batman on film. This is not that. This is a Batman that doesn't is still feeling his way through it, trying to figure it out. About 2 years into his, being the Batman, and basically, this is the story that I think people. I won't speak for everybody, but people like me we're saying, I want, where's the world's greatest detective? I want that story. And this is the closest thing we've gotten to that so far. And for that, I fell in love with it. Plus, it's actually really beautifully shot, which helps.
Yeah,
Always
he
helps.
based it on 3 comics. There's, of course, as Steve mentioned, Year One
Yep.
by Frank Miller. There's, of course, the one we reviewed last week, The Long Halloween.
On Halloween. Yep.
So, and then the Batman Catwoman stuff, and this is largely based on and other.
Yeah. Yep.
All 3 of these they recently republished last year in a collector pack for it, but they do lift stories directly or plot lines directly from Long Halloween. It does have a bit of that Year One type feel to it in terms of the corruption of the city, and that Batman's kind of people aren't really used to him yet, so to speak. Like even the people he saves are kind of scared of him.
Yeah.
But I really love what his whole back and forth with Catwoman. She's like that. It's. I mean, it's not the iconic thing that Michelle Pfeiffer did, but it's more along the lines of what I've read in the comics. I like their rapport together. The way she plays the character, I really liked that. Because I thought it was better than because Anne Hathaway thing was kind of its own thing for Nolan, and he's never really been good at trying to ship his characters. Whereas here, I actually bought into it a lot more. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Well, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman is smoking hot, totally capable, character driven. Not necessarily just, oh, she's Catwoman and she does awesome things. And it's like, no. There is a place that she came from and a rebellion of her own. It fits within the world. I really enjoy it. Like the more I got into the movie, the more I got into the characters and the world of Gotham City. Kat, you said, like, it's incredible. The way that they present Gotham City. This is the first time that I've seen Gotham City, and I was like, that's it.
That's Gotham. Yeah, right. So I remember one of the trepidations you had going in.
Hakeem.
You did not like the look of the Riddler. Did that bother you through the whole film? Did it grow on you? Are you still hating it? What are your thoughts?
Me?
Yeah, you were the one that had trepidations.
I did. I was really, because I enjoy a dapper Riddler. Who knew? Right. But no, seeing Riddler in this presentation worked.
Yeah, right. That's
like once.
And that's what once I saw the movie and you were still kind of going, oh, look at that great figure. Once you were still going off about him, like, dude, just watch the movie because I think it'll tie in. You'll understand where that comes from. And you know what I mean? This is, and what people need to understand, it's not an origin story, but it's a beginning type of story. It's the beginning of these characters. It's the beginning of the Riddler. It's the beginning of even the Batman trying to figure himself out and how he works inside of this world with Gordon and the whole and all of the, all the his surroundings. And it's a beginning kind of movie, which was good.
Kat, I had you on my shoulder this entire movie. And you
was I the good angel or the bad angel?
Oh, she was on Edward's side. But the thing was, it's like, is this the characterization? I don't care about what costume they're wearing. Is this the characterization?
Is this Edward Nygma? Yeah, right.
And the answer is yes. This is Edward Nygma.
Yeah.
And that is what swayed me over. And especially when we get there. Like even when Batman shows up at wherever prison, Arkham? It's not Arkham.
It's not.
Well, it's Blackgate.
Well, he says he's going to Arkham, even though it makes sense that he would immediately have been sent to Arkham, but he calls it Arkham in the movie. So,
but like, and we recently talked
suit on, jumpsuit. So,
well, I can't read. And so we get there into the prison cell, and it's Batman and Edward, and he's like, no, and he starts going like nuts because he is. about the fact that this is not the way it's supposed to go. You're supposed to understand.
Yeah, because
You're supposed to get it.
you're right. He was writing
And
love letters.
In his mind, he pictures himself like this.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Reality, he's like the fringe types who are on the internet, like on his computer. It's like, yes, you're a forensic accountant, and that's how you know all this stuff.
Yeah.
But and he has these people cheering him on, like he says in the video. They've been following him for months now, and he's had this community for months that he's thanking, and he just thinks that, oh, Batman's definitely going to love this, which is the internal movie logic.
He's thinking he's Instagram and he's really 4chan.
But that the Batman will go out of his way to do it for him.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, I really appreciated the characterization. I still don't like the costume design, but I understand it.
The Batman?
No, of the Riddler.
Oh,
And-
okay, yeah.
And so I think it worked. I think it worked for the context of the movie. I appreciated it. But
Good.
I liked it.
What did you think of the Batman costume? I think this is one of the better Batman costumes we've seen.
What do you think, Ernesto?
Oh, hey, my turn. I liked it very much. I wasn't really excited for this movie for the longest time, mainly because it was around the time when Warner Brothers and DC were just in whatever the fuck they were doing at the time. You know, I remember when they brought Matt Reeves in, they were doing the negotiations, how the negotiations had to stall for a bit so that cooler heads would prevail because apparently somebody pissed off Matt Reeves, or the studio wasn't getting what they wanted, or he wasn't getting what he wanted. And this was around, 2017 that the negotiations were happening. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if Ben Affleck is not going to direct his Batman movie, then it sounds like Matt Reeves is going to be directing his Batman movie, and Ben Affleck is still going to be the star. And then after Matt Reeves was finally announced as being the director of the Batman, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing being reported. And I'm like, is this movie even going to make its 2019 release? And we weren't hearing anything from Ben Affleck. Then Justice League was about to come out, and he said that I would be a monkey for Matt Reeves, because by that point we still were waiting for the movie to come out so that then Warner Brothers can fire the bullet and say that.
Well, are you a monkey for Matt Reeves? That's my question.
Chimp.
So, God damn it, you just derailed what I was gonna say.
I apologize.
I
Yet
apologize
not.
too. I stole your thunder, Ernest. I didn't mean to do it like
I'm
that.
sorry, he does that every time.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. So I was getting frustrated because I'm like, man, how long does it take for a guy to make a fucking Batman movie? It's like, Jesus Christ, hurry up and get to it. It's one of those things.
Well, but Ernesto, besides the the extended lead up, what did you, when you sat down in the theater, what did you, when you were taking it in and coming out of the theater, what was your initial reaction? Were you, yeah, this is a good movie, or this didn't live up to my expectation? Where did you stand?
Well, my expectations were at zero. They were absolutely.
So it must have exceeded them.
And then when I came out, I was like, oh shit, that was actually a very good Batman movie. And then I saw it a second time, and I figured, okay, this is a great Batman movie. And you have to understand that I really wasn't wild about Robert Pattinson being Bruce Wayne and Batman. Not because he's from Twilight, because he had already moved on from that phase in his career.
Yeah.
And he had done enough art house movies, and he had surrounded himself by very talented.
Good Time, The Rover. Come on.
Yeah, prior to
movies.
coming out. So he has the acting chops for it. My issue is that I've always seen Robert Pattinson as not being adult enough to fill those shoes. I just saw him as
interesting.
He would be more of a Nightwing than he would be a Bruce Wayne or a Batman.
Well, it's a strange situation, and I'm sure I brought it up on many a Martinis, Gadgets, and Guns with Kat. on the Phantasmagorium channel.
After many martinis.
Where the thing about Batman is that when Batman becomes younger than you, is that when you stop believing in Batman? That's the way I feel about James Bond. The next actor who plays James Bond is more than likely going to be younger than me. Is that when I give up on James Bond, just because you aspire for your heroes to be men? And when a boy aspires for men, does that change the way you see your hero when Batman becomes Robert Pattinson, who I'm pretty sure is younger than me?
Yeah.
And it embodies a different age than I had. And that's part of the reason that I sort of was dismissive, is because not that I have
Scotty, just of the casting or actually his role in the movie.
No, but also both. Like I am referring to both. He is a younger man than I. He appeals to a different audience than I, and there's a disconnect that may be insurmountable.
Then maybe it begs this question: do you think his age fit the role?
Yes.
Okay.
Getting back to what Ernesto was saying, you were worried about him playing the role, but what did you think of it after you saw it?
Well, after seeing it, I still had my complaints about him not having a fully... the Bruce Wayne is not there yet, because the duality has to be there, and and he was pretty much Batman all the time. Like,
agreed.
In costume and out of costume. And you kind of, if you read enough comics, you have to have that billionaire, playboy, philanthropist persona in order to disassociate yourself from the alter ego, because at some point somebody's going to look at you and pull a Robin Blake and be like, oh, I know who you are.
But it and correct me if I'm wrong, because I totally could be. At this point in Batman's career, year 2, is he the playboy in the comics? I don't remember that. I think it depends on the run, right?
Well,
the New 52 and
if I may,
yeah,
the Batman is kind of loose with the history. I don't think that Martha's maiden name was Arkham.
Yeah. Okay.
So in terms of how it fits in with the comic books, I think it fits as well as any other Batman movie.
Okay. Well, I guess that was my question. I mean, if it fits in the time period and that kind of thing.
Well, they were striving to do something different.
Agreed.
It's the same thing every time, which is why I really like this version of Bruce Wayne, because he's not. That's the whole nature of his relationship with Alfred. So Alfred wants him to be the philanthropist, playboy type. That like Bella Real says, you could be doing more for the city, but you're not really doing anything. Yeah. And it's because I think it was Cronenberg who said this. He said he doesn't usually watch comic book movies, but he watched this for Robert Pattinson, and he said that he found that a lot of times he doesn't connect with comic book movies because he finds it to be like an adolescent power fantasy, like a revenge fantasy type thing.
Yes.
You don't say.
No, but that's exactly what the Batman is in particular, because in this particular iteration, because he is out for blood, for vengeance, because that's what he calls himself, and that's what I liked about it, because it was not. It's not like you're going to go from being billionaire playboy to Batman, and the duality is going to happen like instantly.
So do you think he actually liked more of the grit of it and not?
It's because you're seeing the journey of him becoming that. Like, it takes the shell shock at the end of the movie that first he brushes off the Riddler when he says, "Oh, you inspired me," but then when the other guy says it, it's like, "Oh shit!" It's like he kind of realizes his actions are having consequences, and that Alfred was right the whole time, which is why I think you're going to see a very different shift in the upcoming Penguin series and then the Batman Part 2. I think that duality.
This is something that I specifically had to be objective about. I don't give a good goddamn about the Batman Part 2. I don't care about the franchise. I was assessing this film as being an individual representation of Batman. And again, Kat, you were on my shoulder and you were saying this is Batman Year 2. And Bruce has not yet emerged.
Right.
Well, yeah, and to that end, Batman in a sense hasn't really emerged because he's not a very good detective in this movie. Like,
I'm not gonna throw my hat in the ring for a movie or a story that has not yet happened yet.
Right, but I'm saying that's what I liked about this movie, is that he's not just the perfect version that we've seen in every comic book. It's like, yes, it's nice that it's a detective story, because all the other Batman movies have only alluded to detective start a little bit.
Yeah.
But I like that he's not the perfect detective yet, because he's still learning. Like he's
so
just
he can grow.
like,
So we can grow with the character.
And
But
Gordon back on that in the Long Halloween, where he's like, you maybe don't beat as many people up and actually, investigate this type of thing. And there were many opportunities for him to get ahead of the Riddler investigation in this movie, and he didn't, because he's not a great detective yet.
Oh, but it's the best representation even before he gets them.
Yeah, I agree too. But he's not. I like that he's flawed still. He's not. I think what Kat's saying, he's not 100%. Oh, I could just walks in the crime scene and just solves the.
Yeah, he's still focusing on more so on the vengeance aspect than on the detective aspect. Like, for instance, when the first time you saw the photos with the mayor walking out of the club with the girl, I thought, okay, some paparazzi or somebody took it and the Riddler got it, whatever. When it happened again with the commissioner, I noticed the photos are from the exact same angle at the exact same place, and I remember that there was a hotel across the street. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if you're Batman, you got to go there, you got to look and judge from the camera angle. It's like, figure it out. And likewise, when the information starts coming out with each riddle as to what he knows, it's like, well, who would actually know that information? Either somebody in the gang family. If they're not in the gang, who would have access to know all the financials and know this? Well, and it turns out, like almost a throwaway line, that he's a forensic accountant. It's like Batman, the fully formed Batman, would be thinking about these things and be getting ahead of it. But the Batman, like for instance, when Batman is talking to the Riddler on the laptop, and they're typing back and forth to each other, and he guesses the Wayne orphanage is being Riddler tells him, my next victim, I'll give you a clue as to who he is, and Bruce solves the riddle immediately. Oh, it's the Wayne orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't go and think to himself that.
He doesn't piece that. Yeah, it doesn't piece that together immediately.
His parents are dead, and the next victim, Wayne, he should have gone straight back to his house, not to the orphanage. Right. But he's not thinking that way. He's like, sucked into it type of thing. He's not perfect yet.
Do we have a chat?
We do. You want to
You want to say? I do. I want to say hi to the chat. The Grimy Reaper. Ahoy. Yes, the Batman is 7, basically. Beautiful.
That's kind of what I was alluding to. It's Fincher-esque. It's not hardcore Fincher, but Matt Reeves does a very good Fincher impression for the first, 45 minutes to an hour of this movie, in my opinion.
First hour is boring as fuck.
That's because you're gay.
I'm gay. Black Philip Alvarez, hello. It's nice to see you, Phil. Thank you.
Hey, Phil.
I hope you're growing your beard. He says, if Batman 89 is my favorite when I was a kid, then The Batman is my favorite as an adult. I like the atmosphere and look of Gotham. Agreed. It was almost a character itself. I was going to say herself.
Yep.
Of course, it's much like 7. Yeah, totally. Agreed. No argument.
I agree with that too. It did. Gotham kind of took on a persona. I wish it would have, been a little more, but maybe 2 and 3 will.
If the Dark Knight was Heat, this is.
Say that again, Kat. I couldn't hear you.
Like if the Dark Knight was Heat, this is 7, but to a fault. I think they pushed the 7 parallels a bit too far going into the third act.
Do you have a physical microphone?
No, this is the same microphone I use every week.
It sounds worse now than it did before.
Hit it again.
Hit it again. Okay, you're good. You're good. Now say something.
Okay.
What? But we can't see you now. No, that's worse. It sounds like you're in an aquarium.
It's the same exact one I use all the time.
No, I know. Just keep hitting it. Try again and say something after each time.
Yeah.
Nope, more. Give it to me. Oi, 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 oi.
Hitting it isn't doing anything.
No, it's even worse now.
Well, that's your fault then for telling me to smack it.
It's not my fault. I was trying to fix it.
We are professionals, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be
Yes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We do have a contribution.
Hit the bell.
Yeah. You can give us money
for a new microphone.
All right. Well, so shall we go on with the Euler
With the
Greg?
chat?
Euler Greg?
Hey, Euler Greg.
Houston-
It's a
Houston
pleasure
Euler,
to see you.
gotcha.
I love it when Greg shows up.
Black Phillip Alvarez is back. I also like the Batman was front and center and not overwhelmed by the villains as in the past Batman movies. Yes, they did get a little stacked with the villains. The Rogues Gallery were
Cat, say something.
usually front and center.
Well, let him read
Okay.
the thing first.
Way better.
Oh, no, you're perfect. You're perfect. This is how you always sound. It's perfect. Hey, Hakeem.
Scotty?
What was the
Hi,
last
everyone.
Cut everyone off. What was he saying?
What was the last comment? Can you go back to the last
It was Black. Yes, I can. It was Black Phillip Alvarez. And he said, I also liked that the Batman was front and center and not overshadowed by the villains as in the past Batman movies.
Yeah, that's a big improvement.
I mean, it might not have been overshadowed, but the Riddler was present from start to finish with the clues.
Yeah,
There-
and that's what I liked about it. That they didn't overshadow it. They weren't I guess what oppressive. They were just kind of there. You just knew you knew they were there. Falcone was there. You know, they're all kind of there, but it wasn't like the Rogues Gallery coming in. Everybody try to get Batman, kidnap.
Oh,
him,
but
take
so
him to
many
the lair and
villains.
all that kind of nonsense.
There are so many villains in this movie, and it's impressive how they are incorporated.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that is on me. And it's like, I don't want a movie that is, I don't want a Batman movie that is 3 hours long. And it's like, well, maybe that's beneficial so the city can breathe.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So,
Well, the reason the movie's so long is because he's letting the scenes, like, it's not so much that it's breathing with tons of extra dialogue or stuff. It's just that he doesn't cut like a million times a second. It's like he lets the shots linger, so you actually have time to dart your eyes around and look at the setting before it cuts to the next thing.
Yeah, you actually get to see. You get to sit there for a minute.
Yeah,
well,
it's
not only
cut surprisingly like Heat, even though this one isn't really copying that. It kind of like, even that movie, you can count the scenes, like maybe 15, 20 main scenes, but it doesn't feel slow. It's just that they let the camera linger because they're not in this sort of EPK era we live in where everything's got to happen so fast, even without you realizing it. Which is why I never had a problem with the runtime of this film, even on rewatches.
Me neither. And the only time you ever you get a the motion of edits is in that awesome car chase.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, everything breathes that almost drowns near the end.
Mm-hmm. Almost drowns. Yeah, totally.
lazy.
Oh, stop.
Oh, you just mad I saw it before you did.
Well, no, you get to call out my low-hanging fruit. I figured I would do the same.
But it was high, and then it drowned.
I am also high.
Black Phillip Alvarez says Kravitz's Catwoman was miles better than Hathaway's version, but Pfeiffer's Catwoman is the most iconic to me. I appreciate the other ones as well.
Agreed,
I like that.
It's iconic for a lot of them. It made you raise your shorts.
I was watching Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, and while I love Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. It is that is when I think of Catwoman, and let's be fair, I've only seen quintessential is the perfect word, my friend.
Thank you.
But watching Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, I was satisfied. Like, I thought that she was capable, intelligent, resourceful, showed the proper
when she needed to be.
I think that was Zoe Kravitz was a bitchin' Catwoman, and I'm happy with it.
I agree.
Yeah, I like that she had her own story and wasn't just there to be the sidekick to Batman like in other Batman movies.
Or the love interest. I did too. I thought it was awesome the way they
remember. Okay, wait, one thing. So remember when Batman gives her the video camera? What is it?
The
contact lens, yes. And when she threw it away, she didn't throw it away. She put it in her pocket or something. I was like, how many, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars is that contact lens?
Well, he always has spares.
That's an expensive contact lens.
You know,
Well, I think I was thinking more along the lines that she could sell that and make a lot of money. That
Right.
probably more money
That's
than
a
she could
fact.
rip off a penguin.
But
That's
that's the
highly
thing.
objective.
But that's part of the reason why I enjoyed Catwoman in this movie is that she didn't throw it away. She later uses it to get in touch with Batman.
Yeah.
And so, like, the movie, it is daunting to get into. There is so much, as Steve is wont to say, setting of the table.
Big setting of the table, like an hour's worth.
Like an hour. But once you bust into a prison with a car, the movie starts going. But you need that first
But
hour.
I'll tell you what, the little nuances in the opening sequence, well, the second sequence, when they're in the murder scene, that all the little intricacies that the Batman has with not only Gordon but the commissioner or the commissioner that comes in, what's his name, Cat? I can't remember his name. Yeah, and then like
Rat Face.
Yeah, a rat scala, and then all of the other bodies that are working, the crime scene. Just there's a little point, and I don't know why this sticks in my brain, where Batman walks over to a little spot of blood on the wooden floor. And then the crime scene lady's right behind him and takes a picture and is like, oh, yeah. It's those little things like that just kind of stand out like, oh, it kind of sets, like I said, sets the table for Batman being a detective on par with the guys that are working the scene, So he's not there just as a looky-loo. He's actually there, doing business, for lack of a better term.
Also, that whole thing of him being there is something that kind of bugged me because, the commissioner comes in and he clearly hates Batman.
Yeah, didn't like
you outrank Gordon. Why don't you have this guy arrested if you're having such a problem with it,
Yeah.
And, like, even with all the cops, like, I get why the other cops have to go along with it because Gordon's their boss. But even when they're at the police station and you have who I assume is the police chief, the guy with that very unique voice who's talking to him, and it's like, you outrank him. Why are you letting Gordon, run the game here if you just don't like the Batman? It's like,
right.
You could.
And I wonder if it's one of those things where he knows that to catch the bad guy, we have to, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't say that outright. He's like, he doesn't want any part of it, but deep down, he might know,
The entire Riddler scheme is to try and find who has what on whom.
Yeah.
And like, everyone has something on everyone. And the only reason that Batman trusts Jim Gordon is because nobody has anything on Jim.
Right. And I think this is going to play into the latter part 2 and 3 of this series when the Court of Owls.
I only want to discuss this movie in the confines of its own movie. And the thing is, and this is another reason, Cat, get off my shoulder. This is the exploration of how Bruce Wayne comes out of his shell and stops just being Batman. This is when he realizes that this isn't just being vengeance. This is him being Batman. This is him being a symbol of hope. Like, this is the inspiration that Christian Bale spoke of to Mike O'Kane.
Yeah, and that's, again, lifted straight from The Long Halloween, where Gordon's criticizing Batman for that. And I get what you're saying. We do have to look at it at the confines of its own movie, but the fact that Matt Reeves repeatedly said during the press junket that everybody's their prototype version. Like, Batman isn't really fully formed as Bruce Wayne Batman yet. The Riddler isn't him. The Catwoman is not there. And because really, Catwoman throughout the whole movie is running her own scheme. And it's like, the big question is, what's she going to do now that she's gotten her revenge and gotten whatever money she's going to get out of it? Because I assume that Penguin's just going to recoup, take whatever money that Falcone has left. It's not going to Catwoman, that's for sure. And then Riddler, of course, is in his prototype phase, which is why I think they're teasing potentially a war of jokes and riddles down the line. We don't know yet, though.
That'd be cool.
but it's kind of like I look at it and I can tell the direction that it's going, which I think is put there so that fans wouldn't like revolt against the fact that these are not the iconic versions of the characters. It's like they're origin versions, if you will. Like not in the sense that they get an explicit origin story, but again, Batman's not Batman yet. Riddler hasn't really come into his own, and neither has Penguin.
Well, but I've been the one who has been railing against this movie the most, simply because it is not the character design of the Riddler that I want. Mm-hmm. And I have been very angry at it. And I probably would never have seen it if I weren't on this particular program. And now that I've seen it, I misjudged it.
Yeah.
I
thought
I think the Riddler is, I think this is an accurate. I want him to, like, this makes sense.
Yeah. Let's just, down the line, let's spruce up the costume. But I get it. Yeah, totally.
This was a great representation of the Riddler.
I thought so too.
Speaking of which, Phil says that he likes the look of the Riddler in the portrayal, very Hannibal Lecter-like, and the exact opposite of how Jim Carrey was all over the place.
My Riddler design is a bowler hat and a double-breasted suit and pants.
That's not what he means. He means that he's not all over the place in terms of the performance. Like there's consistency with the character.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I think they gave him a little too much latitude.
I'm getting excited. You guys are talking about the Riddler.
Keep it in your pants.
Stop it. You're not my real mom.
Phil says,
what?
Theaters, I liked it, but it was very dark and couldn't make out a lot of the scenes. I didn't have that problem. I thought it was shot very well for a movie that's mostly using nighttime or imitating nighttime photography. I know they built Gotham on the same cardigan hangars where they built the whole Arkham set for Batman Begins. And so you had like...
Let's be fair here.
Everything's artificially dark, but I thought they did a pretty good job at it.
I think at this point we can be a little lenient here because he probably didn't have bright bulbs in his theater.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yes, Texans lack electricity.
No, sometimes in theaters, even here in Southern California, where there's 1 million people at every theater, sometimes the bulbs are dim.
Yeah, I mean, there are some movies out there that really have very shitty nighttime scenes, like very shitty. But for the most part, it's a light bulb issue.
Well, if we're gonna do superhero movies, I would say that this was a better nighttime movie than, say, Fantastic Four 2: Rise of the Silver Surfer. The entire finale of that film was way too dark. This movie was better, and it's because of the cinematography and the accentuation of the fire, special effects, everything. It was a very dark movie, no argument. But it was because they were accentuating the shadows. I watched it on a Toshiba television, and I have a Blu-ray player, and I watched it, and it was quite vibrant. So I think that everything that happened on screen was accentuated properly, and I think visually it was a compelling story.
Well, it also depends visually on how they're representing the dark. Like, for instance, when John Carpenter shot Halloween, he went on location, but the streetlights weren't really a thing back then. So that movie was really dark, and I think that added a lot to the movie. Whereas, modern horror films, when you go outside, there's a lot of streetlights because that's realistically what things are like now. But they still found a way to use the cinematography in a way that it draws your eye to the section in the dark that you need to be looking at, and it can work. And that's why playing cinematography in the dark is really difficult, because it's like, are you gonna you have to achieve that trick of getting the audience kind of used to the idea of having their own night vision, and is that working or not? Which is why when you watch a stream of a movie that has a lot of dark scenes in it, you tend to get that blotchy, grayish
compression pixels,
right? Yeah. And as Phil says, the HBO Max version was a little bit better, but finally getting the 4K is much better looking. And speaking of the HBO Max version, for the last year it was only in HD. They only recently upgraded to 4K, and because I didn't have a reliable 4K player until I got my PS5, today was the first day I've ever watched it on 4K disc. And
how was it?
Friend Terrier, who said that the brights were much better, like the lens flares, the headlights and stuff, but the darks had less compression issues, but it wasn't at times as for me it was he said it was didn't have the crushing blacks. He and I don't have Dolby Vision, whereas the movie does have that. But I thought it was fine. I still thought it looked pretty good in terms of how they shot. I was surprised that this movie didn't get a best cinematography nomination, because so many movies, you think about it, are not set at night, and to shoot this much of it in the dark and have it look as good as it does, I thought, come on, you know.
So I got lucky. It looked really good in the theater when I saw it, and then when I came home and watched it on HBO, I've seen both versions, the HD version and the 4K, the upgraded version. I just watched it today, and it's luckily for at home it looks great. So
yeah, I saw
visually,
I saw an IMAX.
Visually stunning.
That looked amazing, you know.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, what? Okay, so there are a couple of songs. Remember, what is the... Isn't there a Nirvana song in this
Something
movie?
in the Way,
which they played in the trailer, and I'm surprised they actually played it in the movie, because oftentimes they don't do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's actually here. And it does actually.
The movie opens with it, right?
The lyrics do apply to the story, both from Batman's Crusade and the Riddler's Crusade, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
It's multi-layered in that way. The song applies to both characters and the actual plot. Which...
I have to wonder if maybe when they were writing the movie, they had that in mind.
Oh, they had to have. Like, Robert Pattinson said one of the first things Reeves told him about his vision for Bruce Wayne is that he's like Kurt Cobain.
Oh,
like
really? Okay.
The type of depressed kind of thing, like he's in his own little world. Like, every time Alfred's trying to reach him, one of the common reactions to the film I heard was that a lot of people think Bruce is being too much of a jerk to Alfred. It's like, come on, you know?
Right.
And,
too emo.
Yeah,
what do you mean, come on?
Well, I mean, come on, and that people are looking at Bruce like, oh, come on. Like, the minute Alfred wakes up in the hospital, the first thing he says to him is, "You've lied to me my whole life." And it's like, really? That's the first thing you're going to say to the guy who's been waiting on you hand and foot for 20 years?
But you bring up an excellent point, Kat. Is Bruce Wayne is a human being, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to, like, there has to be some part of the characterization of Bruce Wayne that makes the audience understand his compelling to be the Batman. And part of that is that he is a good man. In my opinion.
He is, but I kind of get going back to the Cronenberg thing where it's adolescent power fantasy, because for Bruce, you could tell he enjoys beating these people up. Like, he says, "I'm vengeance."
Yeah.
To the point that the first guy he saves is panicked and like, he's like, "Please don't hurt me." But Bruce doesn't, like, Batman doesn't ttry and reassure him, "Oh, don't worry, I'm here to help," because he's like in his element, because he's just thinking about vengeance and wanting to settle this. And I love that they went with the direction of The Long Halloween, where it was also ambiguous as to who killed, or unresolved as to who killed the Waynes. And that kind of gives you a bit more of insight as to why Bruce feels the way he does. Whereas Alfred and Bella Real are right. It's like, you need to come out of your shell and like embrace the city for what, like, his impetus for getting on a suit and going to the mayor's funeral is because serial killers tend to visit the funerals of their crime victims.
Right.
Like he's not thinking about what he can do for the city to actually make things better.
Right.
Renewal program. That was
if I may, I do have an example from the film. Is when the accountants were going to come, and Bruce is like, "I don't have time for this," and it's like, but the thing is that even when he shows up, he's like, it's like if I showed up.
When who shows up?
Like, no, okay, so Bruce Wayne, we've been trying to get the meetings going on for the accountants. You're going to lose your fortune if you don't pay attention to the accountants. Mm-hmm. And then Bruce is like, "I don't have time for this." And then they basically draw him into the moment, and apparently he took care of it. But I don't believe that Batman can take care of Bruce Wayne problems. And that bothers me.
Yet, because I think I like the fact that he's still learning. I mean, at the very beginning of how to.
You were waiting to answer.
Putting on the Bruce Wayne costume, and
He never puts it on. He never puts it on.
And we're still, yeah, right. And we're still, it's that he's still trying to get there. I like that he didn't automatically in the beginning put the Bruce
He wasn't trying though.
I think Alfred's pushing him now.
Let Cat talk.
Well, the thing is that he's so disconnected that he doesn't even question who's running his parents' renewal program.
Right.
It's like the fact that the movie literally opens with the mayor, or one of the first scenes is the mayor watching the recap of his the debate that he had with his challenger, and she's talking about how the city's been renewing for 20 years, nothing's really working, and it's like Bruce isn't even aware of this, which he should be, because it's like if Thomas Wayne started this, even though Bruce was too young at the time to actually manage it, it should have passed into the control of some type of trust that the Wayne Foundation would be in control of, but it wasn't, and he has no interest in it whatsoever, even though he keeps seeing the Riddler leaving the renewal clues, and he's not connecting the dots or looking it up until much later in the movie, because he's so detached, because he's been living in this very, Kurt Cobain-esque type world, and Alfred's been having a hard time trying to pull him out of it. Like when he says, "You brought him here, why?" Because I couldn't get you to go there. Like even when he gets up in the morning, he's dressed like all in black, and he's got his sunglasses on, even though there's only a little bit of light coming in, and he's eating like berries like a cat. Right. Whereas Alfred's already dressed to the nines and ready to go for the whole day.
Yeah. Well, Cat, here's the thing, and this is one of when I watched this movie in two parts. I watched the first hour and then I watched the last 2 hours. And when I watched the first hour, someone messaged me. It was Ben from Cinema Gulp, and he was like, "Do you want to Zoom?" And I was like, "Anything but this. Like, I do not want to watch this anymore. I'll take a break." And then I got to not Stellan Skarsgård, Steven Stars. Who's the Skarsgård? Sarsgaard?
Sarsgaard.
Yes, he was. He's great in this movie, but when he,
awesome.
Yeah, totes. And so when he crashes into the church, that's when I paused the movie for like 12 hours.
That's when I think the rest of that, when you picked it up, is the good part, at least of the movie. Yeah.
But I do, and the thing is that I understand the need for the first hour.
For the table setting. Yeah.
Fuck
I didn't
you.
feel the first hour was table setting. I felt it was just, here's the, it's a detective story and we're solving it. And then the middle hour starts
more into the action the clues
before seeking back into the more packed climate.
Yeah.
Well, also, the first hour has that amazing punch fight in the subway station.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And also the guy who Batman literally rescues, and the guy who is rescued says, "Please don't hurt me."
Yeah. Well, right. That's what we were talking.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because he's more about the vengeance, and that's another thing I like about the movie is that it opens the Batman segment, just like every every Batman comic opens with the narration and jumping around, seeing what's going on, which they haven't done in a Batman movie before. So that was like really cool. So another character we haven't talked about. What were you guys' all four? You guys' thoughts on Colin Farrell?
Four guys.
Ernesto, you go first.
Who are we talking about?
Ernesto, you should go first.
Yeah, but the Penguin. Yes, Ernesto should go first.
Well, I remember when they cast him, I think when they announced Colin Farrell in the movie, they also announced Andy Serkis and like the crop of cast for this movie. And my brain never went to Colin as being the Penguin. My brain went to him being Alfred, like a very Alfred, and then because people have been wanting Andy Serkis to be in that kind of role of the Penguin for a long time, especially with a Cockney accent. A lot of us were thinking of Andy Serkis immediately as the Penguin. So when the movie had its first trailer, I'm looking for Colin Farrell, and I couldn't see Colin Farrell, and I didn't realize until much later after the trailer came out that Colin Farrell in the rain, that was him with all the prosthetics. I'm like, oh damn, Oscar! That's an Oscar-nominated moment right there for best makeup, because you don't really know. You don't really think it's him until you have that canted angle at the club when he said, "Hey, take it easy, sweetheart," and it's right in the eyes that you can tell it's Colin Farrell. But even after they mentioned that he was going to be the Penguin, I also imagine his version of the Penguin was going to be more closer to the Telltale Games Penguin. Very slim. He's got that big, huge mask that's kind of like what was it called back then when there was like a plague where they wore those giant bird masks?
The plague mask.
Yeah, it was
like for a plague doctor.
Yep,
yeah,
like
he would wear like a plague doctor mask, and that would be his moniker of the Penguin. You know, very theatrical.
Kind of like that.
Yeah,
exactly. Like instead of having the nose,
Give me a Saffin mask, or I will leave.
Yeah, I think he was fantastic. He was the second best part of this movie. The first part being the profile picture that I have here as Officer Martinez from GCPD. He is the MVP of this goddamn movie.
I agree with you, Ernesto.
He was
it's
the
the mustache.
He says, "Hey, you're Bruce Wayne. Hey, Mr. Wayne."
Yeah, but
like he's a fan.
Yeah. But back to Colin Farrell, yeah, he was fantastic, start to finish. I can't wait to see his HBO Max series, just to see how he takes over as the Iceberg Lounge owner, how he is the new kingpin of in a way. He's the one who's going to keep everything in control, and especially with the crazy.
They keep adding great talent to that show too, so it sounds like.
And what I liked about this version of Oswald is I can see at least in this movie series that he could be an ally to Batman or Bruce Wayne, because he's seen him twice or three times in person, and he doesn't have any ill will towards Bruce Wayne. Just like, oh hey kid, oh hey Jimmy Slick, like he's just constantly just giving him a compliment or just giving him a little rub.
Yeah, but Oswald doesn't know who Bruce is.
No, but that's fine. He can still be an informant, and I mean, not you know what I mean. Like they can still work together on the sly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't call it working together. I feel like Oswald deals with Batman when it's profitable.
You're absolutely correct, but you know what I mean, right?
Well,
picking up what I'm putting down. Black Phillip Alvarez says disappeared in the role, and he absolutely disappeared in that role. I couldn't have said it better.
You know what? I know this asshole on the internet. His name is Admiral T.
That shit cop.
And he was talking about Colin Farrell as the Penguin and wondering why you would put those prosthetics on that actor when there are actors that look.
Here we go again with this.
I know.
This constant need for people to wanting to hire people that actually look like it. It's like,
Now, that's not why I brought it up. The reason I brought it up was it is an incredible thing to be lost in a performance. And it was an incredible performance. And the prosthetic accentuated that performance. There were moments like, come on, let's be fair. Colin Farrell was being a little bit. He was a little De Niro. And but it worked. Like I didn't recognize him all the time. Like it was great.
The reason you cast a amazing actor is because he can emote through all of that.
Right.
That's why.
If you have a problem with actors using prosthetics,
but dude,
if you have a problem with good actors in prosthetics, watch Dick Tracy.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't.
Watch my Dick Tracy. It's all about cadence.
Yeah, but there's always going to be people complaining about that. Like everybody said, "Oh, the Penguin, he looks like Richard Kind. Why didn't you just get Richard Kind?" I'm like, "Look, he's a great TV actor and he's funny."
Yeah. Right.
And he was in Gotham.
I felt like saying to a lot of those people, "Can you honestly picture Richard Kind as a Penguin type character. No shade on him. I think he's a great actor for what he does.
No, but he couldn't play that character.
Yeah, it's like
in my opinion.
It's more than the look of it, and you can still hear Colin Farrell's voice in there if you just kind of like when they first said Colin was the Penguin, and I didn't even notice he was in the trailer at first, but when I heard the voice in the second trailer, I was like, oh, okay, I do kind of recognize Colin's voice there, and you could see that. You can tell why they cast Colin Farrell when you're watching it. The performance really does come through, and it's great.
I remember watching the trailer for the first time. It blew me away. I had no idea. I knew he was in the film, and I kept waiting to see like a little snippet of Colin Farrell, and then I'm like, where the hell is he? And it was that transformative and that good.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to him evolving the character because again, he's in his prototype phase. He's not really like Falcone says. I've always seen you as just a gimp in an empty suit, and it's like, well, he kind of is to Falcone. It's like we're gonna see him come into his own, like they tease at the end, like he's gonna seize the power and maybe redecorate the Iceberg Lounge or something.
Well, and I think that kind of illustrates why it makes more sense to do a series. Right?
You and your long form storytelling.
I love the
I
long
will
form
come at you with scissors.
No, but why make it just a one movie, Scott? Like, what if the idea that we can make a brand new Batman world that we haven't seen before, but sorry, you only get one movie. It's like, why? Why not make it a series? It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to, I enjoy the idea of a trilogy. It seems that Matt Reeves has a plan. And I'm looking forward to the world. I was hesitant to enter the Matt Reeves, the Batman. And when I got there, I was like, you know what? This shit is good.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to the next chapter, but I am not going to follow all of the threads that take me to streaming services and video games. And
well, I don't think you're going to.
I already have the comic books.
I don't think you have
to watch the Penguin series to understand the Batman Part 2.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Well, no, they even put the number like Part 2. I don't think they're going to make that mistake that Marvel's been doing by trying to make everything go back and forth between the TV shows and the movies. So they're seeing, oh, that's not working. And Matt Reeves sounds like he had because he said from the very beginning he wanted to do 3 movies, so he already had an arc in mind.
Yeah, he's got a
More than likely, any recap that's needed will probably happen in the open narrations of Part 2.
Yeah,
somehow Palpatine has returned.
I think what it is that at the end of the movie, when you have Batman giving his narration about how the crime is going to be rampant now, people are going to take over, people are expecting the Penguin to be in charge. So the difference is that the Penguin series is just going to show us the literal transition, whereas you can walk into Part 2 and it's like, well, they already set it up at the Part 1 teasing that he's going to be in charge. Oh, so we see that. It's like you're not going to need.
And you can literally catch the audience up, on the movie audience up, with a really quick set of dialogue, a little exposition, done, and then you're caught up and we're off to the races.
Yeah, but I am excited to see him come into that role of the Penguin because it's like he kept kind of almost downing the role in interviews, saying, "Oh, I'm not in very much of it." It's like I thought he was in quite a few scenes.
I thought so too, and he's great. He chews the scenery. So,
and I love how his character, how he's just not at all intimidated by Batman at all. He's just totally cool. He sees him beating the shit out of his guys on the stairs and shooting them and shit. And he's like, "Hey, man," held out his hand. And just even when Batman slams him up against the glass wall in his office,
yeah,
like, hey, dude,
totally killed him. That's what I love is that Penguin's not afraid of Batman.
Well, no, the Penguin always thinks he can work with Batman, and that is my favorite part about and that's a modern Penguin assessment,
right? Well, and I think that's what they're going to go with in the show too.
Great.
So, yeah,
that means that they need Robert Pattinson. What's he up to?
And
I think they already said he's going to be in the show.
Yep.
Is he going to be in the show?
Yeah.
Fuck.
So what was that, Ernesto?
It goes back to my earlier point of them being allies, both in costume and out of costume. Because remember, it's all about the psychology of Batman. Batman and Penguin are two sides of the same coin when it comes to the finance, the Prince of Gotham versus the Prince of Crime or whatever. And I know the Prince of Crime is Joker, but in this specific case, he's the one who's got to keep the monsters at bay because he's the one who's going to be in charge of the criminal underbelly of Gotham City. So you can say, hey, Batman can see the need for the Penguin to be there because he gets to keep all the monsters at bay. But at the same time, I can see Batman going up to him and see like, hey, I'm going to keep my eye on you, regardless of what you're doing. And
I
Penguin's
can't.
hey, you can keep your eye on me, but you're never going to catch me. That's why Batman always goes to him.
You need me.
Because he can't pin him to any crime because Penguin is too smart to be caught in a crime unless he's doing it directly.
Yeah.
He's a valuable resource.
That's going to be really fun to see. And I like how in the big car chase, the Penguin's driving like a regular car. Like he's kind of he's very understated for a top lieutenant in a major crime racket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot in this movie that could kind of come back in part 2 or part 3 or in any form, whether it's another HBO Max series that comes out of part 2 or
oh my god,
part 3. Because I found it, and I told Kat about this when the movie came out. The drug that's being sold in
drop heads.
The drop heads. I can totally see that working into a scarecrow down the line because I can totally see Crane just taking that specific.
They already did it,
manipulating it with fear toxin, and then create a new type of drug on the street market, and that could be a new version of Crane being a drug lord.
Yeah, totally. I feel that he would fit. That character would fit very well into the Matt Reeves universe, and if the Arkham series happens, that might be a good place to put him if he's not going to be in the films.
Sure,
exactly.
And now that leads us to the next character in this movie, John Turturro as Falcone. Now, I get that it works for the whole rat with wings thing to pick Falcone for that little wordplay thing, but I didn't really feel it was too different of a characterization. And yeah, they're adapting the whole Win in Rome storyline for his relationship with Catwoman, but
yeah,
I didn't feel like it was Falcone. Like I don't picture him as Falcone, and it doesn't seem like Falcone's always this really big guy who's like really intimidating and really scary, and it seems to command a very, like you look at that guy and you could tell, okay, this guy's a boss,
Yeah.
Look at Turturro.
Turturro played it kind of like a more intelligent, not a tough guy, but an intelligent.
He's very understated and very kind of quiet, like right. kind of thing, and it didn't. To me, it's not what I think of when I think Falcone.
To me, it didn't match up. It didn't match up from what I know from Falcone, but I liked the casting. I did like the casting.
Acting wise, it was very good. There's nothing negative I can say about the acting. It's just the version they decided to portray.
Right. Correct.
I'm like, okay, I'm not intimidated by this guy. The only thing he's intimidating are women. That's what I saw him, because the entire thing of him is just like, okay, this guy is scary, but he's scary towards Selena Kyle and any other woman that comes his way, because he's got that creepy, rapey vibe to him, especially when we see him through the looking glass in a way with the eye contacts. You just see him in a shadowy figure. He's like holding her chin up, and he's looking at her like he wants to eat her up. We're not knowing that it's his daughter, but he's already thinking about different ways he could bet her if he wanted to. And
let's not get all girly. There is a moment just before they go into the church where Falcone sees Bruce Wayne for the first time since Falcone was operated on, according to the logic of the film. And it's like, and Bruce says, he's like, oh, you don't come out in public anymore. You might get a shot or something. There's like an interchange between them. And it was just
great interchange, by the way.
Well, but it connects, it connects the Wayne and the Falcone family a little bit closer than I would prefer.
Yeah.
Well, that's lifted again straight from The Long Halloween.
Yep.
Cat, I can't read.
Yeah. And then I admit that it's kind of funny that on the one hand, when Bruce is talking to him in that exchange, he's kind of looking at him crassly, like he can see through Falcone's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like he says, "Are you afraid somebody's gonna take a shot at you?" Like he knows who he is. Yet later on in the movie, after he sees the Riddler's message, he just sucks up everything Falcone told him without even a second thought. And it was like, "Come on, Bruce, come on, you're not really gonna fall for that shit, are you?" And he
Right.
does.
Yeah.
But, I agree with what Ernesto had to say about the vibes that he gives off as Falcone. My favorite version is, like we said last week, is still the one from the comic, Long Halloween, followed by John Doman's performance on the Gotham TV show, which, along with Harvey Bullock and Donald Logue as Harvey Bullock, I should say, and Robin
He's
Lord
great.
as the Penguin were my favorite
Awesome.
things about that show.
Me too.
And so it's like, yeah, I get it. It's Falcone because they're adapting One in Rome and they're adapting parts of the Long Halloween. But I agree with Ernesto. It's a very different take. That's
Kat, do you want to tell everybody what When in Rome is?
it's a story. It's a 6-issue storyline that takes place concurrently with Dark Victory, which is the sequel to Long Halloween, where we find out that
Who wrote it and who illustrated?
Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. And
Yeah, Tim Sale.
the one lingering plot thread at the end of Long Halloween is that Batman was trying to find out why Selena Kyle always shows up as Catwoman when he's getting close to Falcone. Like, what are you up to? And she never tells him. And we find out in the One in Rome story. We find out at the end of Dark Victory, but they dive into it more in One in Rome, that she found out that Falcone was her biological father. And I can't remember the specifics of it from the comic because I haven't been a while since I read those two. But she was trying
Did they
to
stick pretty close to it in the Gotham series? They did, right?
trying to run a scam against him to get what she feels is owed. And so that's what they're hewing to here.
I really like that part of the Gotham series. I thought they nailed that part of it, at least, really well.
Well, and if you are a big fan of Long Halloween, Dark Victory, if you are a fan of the Dark Knight Detective, if that is your jam on Batman, like, do you want to see a Batman movie? This is probably, like, when it comes, okay, Kat, remember when we were talking about James Bond movies, and it's like, is this a good movie or is this a good James Bond movie?
Right.
And like, this is a good movie.
And a good Batman movie.
I feel it's a great Batman movie.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, this is one of those, like, bum, 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 bum. Like, I broke the record with this. I thought I was going to go into this movie hating it, and I think it's my favorite Batman movie.
It's my favorite Batman movie.
Now, I'm surprised. I watched it so many more times than The Dark Knight when I initially got that one on Blu-ray. Like, I've been watching because the film, the fact that it doesn't take the time of all the expositions, like, we dive right into the mystery of it. And as Ernesto was telling me before we started the stream, every time he watches the movie, he says he gets sucked into the mystery anyway, even though we know what the solution is going to be. And that's the power of a great mystery story, is that it does that. And that's why I feel the movie has such great replay value. And I don't really feel the runtime. It just kind of breezes along.
No, it does not breeze.
It does breeze along very
It does not.
It does.
But I do have to ask. I have to, and it's
kind of like Jackie Brown in that way.
Well, Jackie Brown is an hour shorter. So anyway, what do you not like about the Batman?
I don't like in the third act that the Riddler turns himself in, because I feel, even though that scene is well shot when he's at the diner and everything, I feel that that's copying Seven to a fault. Like, when they go into the apartment and you see all this stuff in there, I'm like, this is John Doe's apartment again. And
that's so weird. I thought it was sort of simulating the Joker turning himself in.
No, the Joker turning himself
so much like Seven did.
That served a purpose. He was turning himself in knowing he was going to escape because he had a plan, much like James Bond movies copied that in Skyfall with Silva doing the exact same thing. But in this movie, they're copying Seven, where he turns himself in and he has this evil master plan. But unlike Seven, where he had to turn himself in to enact the final plan, Riddler didn't need to do that here. And frankly, based on the Riddler's own logic that, oh, everybody forgot about us after Thomas Wayne was shot. Well, by that exact same logic, even if everybody in the city was impressed with the Riddler's whole coup de grace at the end, the whole thing that he did, they're going to get over it in a week anyway because they have to deal with the flood. So, and even if Batman did embrace him like the Riddler expected, well, what does he think is going to happen? That he's just going to take off his cape and cowl and turn himself in and to be bunkmates? I mean, it didn't make sense. It felt to me like a fourth wall breaking moment where we want to copy the interrogation scene from The Dark Knight and we want to copy 7 where he turns himself in, but they didn't really need to do that. Like, I'm assuming that the detonator was triggered by Bruce solving that, just like triggered by Bruce solving the password when he entered on the computer. But it's like, again, there was really no reason for Riddler to do that, and I felt it kind of took the wind out of the sails a bit because the whole movie I've been patient with it, following along in the mystery, picking up, wondering where does this all lead, and I thought it was leading to Court of Owls, and I was wrong. And instead, it's like I figured there would be some type of showdown with the Riddler, like he's going to do something, and instead it's just, oh, you kept, like, you don't need to copy things that much. And that's what I criticized when we reviewed Skyfall, that it was copying Dark Knight too much. It was too obvious that they were what they were doing, and so it wasn't as surprising when it took the plot twist that it took, to the point that it wasn't really a twist, because it's like, yeah, I saw it coming that, Silva was going to break out a mile away because they're doing the Dark Knight thing. What? God damn it! What?
It's pronounced coup de grace.
I don't give a shit, and so.
I want you to pronounce things properly.
All of that to correct her grammar.
If you're going to pronounce something, pronounce it.
Stop, shut up. So you asked a question of what I didn't like about the movie. I'm trying to answer it. You're trying to derail it over bullshit. Maybe you should stop drinking. And so
forever
or drink more.
Right off stream. And so, yeah, that's what I didn't like about the movie. I mean, I think the scene of them talking to each other and it is very well shot. Paul Dano does a great job in that scene, and I like the tension between them. But the fourth wall breakingness of it is kind of, it bugs me a bit. And I feel like even if they had shot it like Batman catching the Riddler in his apartment before he got out and having it be more like the conversation they have at the end of Hush, where Riddler's just really cocky and swagger, like, ha ha. Because I felt like the whole movie was building up to that type of a reveal where after Riddler's been sending in all these creepy messages, he's going to be fine unveiling, oh, look at me and everything I did and how great I am. And that doesn't really happen.
But we didn't even get into the Hush. Because they do.
Right, I know, but I felt that character-wise, that's what I felt the Riddler thing was building to, and then it just leaned into 7 a lot more than it needed to from a plot standpoint, and that's where I was like, oh, but then they pick it up a little bit more with the kind of exciting action, but that's why I was kind of, that's what I didn't like about the movie.
My one criticism is pretty much, it kind of piggybacks on that. It's the third act is really comic booky for me. We have this really good, like, neo-noir kind of, detective thriller, and it gets a little too comic booky for me at the end. But I mean, that's a
when he does the whole,
that's a small little gripe at the
when
end.
He stabs himself with the super juice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, right. But I do like the very end of the movie. I thought ended well. So, I mean, it's a small gripe, but it's still a gripe. It sticks in. But you know what? Every time I watch the movie, I know it's coming, and I still love watching it. So
what did you not like about the movie, Ernesto? If anything,
it's honestly just small things, nothing really major, and it's just like character choices. Which again, I get it. We've already talked about why Bruce Wayne is important and he needs to develop it. And I'm pretty sure in future installments, which are happening, once that happens, it'll make me appreciate this one a bit more. But for right now, it's just a little bit of I would rather if there be a Bruce Wayne, but fine, that's okay. Other stuff that I just didn't care for is just, again, minor things. The idea of Batman fighting crime is that at some point he's going to hurt himself, and in this movie it didn't really seem like he was really in all that much danger. I mean, I like the suit, don't get me wrong, but it's just you kind of hang on
let him finish.
Finish. It kind of took away that element of surprise, that element of danger when he's fighting people with guns, because he's just walking towards the firepower, where a Batman that I've been reading for so long usually sneaks up on someone, or at least is agile enough to run away from gunfire. Again, it's a cool visual, but you are kind of missing that beauty of Batman where he's trying to dodge fire all the time, and he's just going at it head on. So I don't know if he's going to keep that moving forward, or if he's going to sacrifice it for something else, for like a different suit. And lastly, the only other major gripe I have is with the theme.
Too many white people.
It's a great theme for Batman. I was humming it yesterday, talking with Kat on Zoom, and it's
Can you hum it now?
No, we don't want to get a copyright strike.
Yeah, let me.
Oh, shut up! It's humming.
The only issue I have with it is that as much as I like Giacchino's work, this felt like an unused piece from his Rogue One movie, and he turned it into a Batman theme, because it's very, very, very similar to the Empire theme. If you're really paying attention to it, when it really gets into it, you can pretty much put the bum 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 right when the theme is going.
Oh,
up.
nice.
So it's very similar. So I just had an issue with that. The same way when he did the Doctor Strange soundtrack.
Yeah.
It sounded like the Star Trek soundtrack. So it's just
yeah,
make this a little bit more different while you're at it. But other than that, those are just my
a little more ethereal. Yeah,
I do enjoy an ear for scores. So thanks, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. Because you know what? As much as I love the music and the sound of the film, I don't zero in on the score.
No, but
I don't. I know a lot of people do. I just it doesn't. For me, it just doesn't. It doesn't happen in the theater for me.
It fucks my brain and I orgasm.
Nice.
I know.
Read a chat, Scotty.
Music eats my anus. Blackfellow Alvarez says. Sorry for that. That was graphic. To me, it felt like Batman, like a Batman comic, finally coming to life in a movie, as opposed to the last trilogy was Nolan doing his own interpretation of Batman. Never really brought the reality approach. My biggest thing is that I think that this is the worst representation of Bruce Wayne. I don't like it. I don't think that there is any association between Bruce Wayne and the real world. And that bothers me, is because I would like to think that the secret identity of the superhero of Gotham City is charming. I want him to be able to get stuff done while he's being a superhero.
Right.
It's part of the reason. It's part of the reason why I love the idea of a secret identity.
Yeah.
I'm too high profile to do this.
It's okay to grow into that secret identity, right? I think that's what Matt Reeves is trying to do here.
And I don't like that.
I don't get why people have a problem with it, because it's like you can either get the same version of Batman Bruce Wayne you had from all sorts of other things, or we can get a new version. And this one, a lot of people say they're doing year one, but you read the year one comic and it doesn't really lean too much into Bruce Wayne, and even in year two, because it's like the Batman thing. And again, it goes back to Long Halloween. He's not really a good detective yet, so is he going to be the suave playboy on the side?
No.
Right, and so this movie's kind of leaning into that, and like he planned it as a trilogy from the beginning, something which Warner Brothers said they were on board with, and so that's kind of the storyline you're getting. He's laying out what that character arc is going to be over the three films.
Yeah, that's why I said I like the fact that we're seeing the beginnings of him trying out, and not even really trying out, but just barely trying out the costume of Bruce Wayne. Now I feel
I would like to think that Bruce Wayne is actually a good person to begin with, and he's not trying to learn how to be a good person.
What you would like and what we're presented with are totally different things.
So I just have to accept that Bruce Wayne is an asshole.
Well, for right now, maybe, yeah.
We judge a movie based on what it gives us, not on what we wanted it to be.
Not what we want it to be, or wish.
True story. True story.
If I may add one more thing, and this isn't really a negative, it's just an observation and kind of something that I'm just kind of wanting from now on. I am tired of
hardcore nudity. No, sorry.
I am tired of the raccoon eyes. I am tired of the raccoon eyes. I am ready for
I was fine with it.
Oh, I thought it was awesome. We finally actually
saw
it.
The raccoon eyes.
Why he did it.
No,
right?
I'm just finally ready.
You're done with it? Okay.
I'm finally ready
Fair.
for a cowl that
Fair
has
enough.
the white lens on it.
No, that looks silly.
As opposed to what else?
Well,
Okay.
no, you know what? No
eye
matter
black,
what
man.
happens,
It's going to
Steve, if
battle.
I may,
Yes, please.
the expressive nature of the cowl with the actors themselves being able to perform the eyes. I think that Robert Pattinson did an incredible job. He was Batman. I'm not gonna fault, no matter what our discussion of this film is. I think Robert Pattinson did a great job as Batman.
I agree.
And it was because of his eyes. And I think that the only thing, like, it's eye acting university to be a young man who plays Batman. And if you want to do the raccoon eyes, go to town, Chuck. But if you don't want to and you want to do I think what do you want to do? Act with your lips?
You've read Batman comics, right?
Never.
Be serious for a moment. You've read Batman comics.
Of course.
You know that his cowl, the eyes, they're always expressive, even when he's wearing the lenses, right?
It's the only difference in the adaptation that I will abide. I am allowed to see Batman's
comics aren't
eyes.
the movies, and the movies aren't the comics.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, that's fine. Like, and even when I saw the white irises or the white eyes of Batman in The Dark Knight, I was like, okay, I get it. Don't do this anymore.
The point I'm trying to make is that the technology is there now to bring the lenses into the fold, especially
into the cowl.
Especially if you look at, and this is the perfect example for the point I'm trying to make. If you look at Tom Holland's Spider-Man, they're able to make his eyes expressive through the mask. They can do the same thing with the cowl.
No,
Yes,
I guess. No, you have a valid point there.
Because the cowl is the extension of him, so it should stand to reason that you can get away with it very easily. And if it's Wayne Tech, you can definitely get away with it.
Yeah, but we have also been trained as a movie audience to see Batman's eyes.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If we already know that he's doing the raccoon eyes and he's got to switch from Batman back to Bruce Wayne, it's gonna take a long time to get the ink off his face. So
it's
lens.
It's Wayne Enterprises water soluble raccoon eye.
Eye black. Black Philip Alvarez says, at first I didn't really like the ending, but after multiple viewings, I finally understood it. Yeah, cool. Like I said, I like the ending. It's just that third act for me kind of just a little too comic booky. But I mean, that's the only.
Oh, it's too comic booky for you.
Yeah, it was. It was a little too for me. I was like, because of what we got in the first hour and 20. I was like, it went a little extra. But it's like I don't dock it points for that. It is what it is, right?
And I've heard all of the internet hubbub about this movie since the day it came out. And so, I've heard people say that the end should have been darker. That it should have ended on a note that was just like, oh, fuck.
Dour? Really?
Yeah. They wanted a more dour ending.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I really have to
I don't know if I would have liked that, but
pretty sure a lot of people drowned. That's dark enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it is one of the best representations of what I want from a Batman movie. I give it a 10 out of 10. I give it an A+.
We haven't gotten to that part yet.
Well, spoilers.
Any other comments so far before we get into?
I don't know. I've been busy over on my OnlyFans.
Anything, Steve?
No, I'm good. We want to run it down, or what do we want to do next?
As far as I know, no one is watching this, and I love it.
Well, obviously somebody's watching it. We're getting comments. Oh, and then we have the MVP, as Ernesto alluded to, Officer Martinez.
Yeah.
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 Only,
Talk about
Only-
Officer Martinez.
only Officer Martinez has the balls to just stop Batman from walking into a crime scene and say, hey, where the hell do you think you're going?
Hey.
And Batman's just staring at him. He's just like, the fuck are you doing? You just put your hands on me? And Martinez is like not backing down. It takes Jim Gordon to kind of pull him on his leash and say, Martinez, let the man.
It's
And
the power of the porn stash, dude.
Martinez just like, hey, Mr. Wayne, over here. And then finally, in the end, he's the reason why Batman was able to figure out the whole bomb situation in the end. That was just like, you know what? Officer Martinez, MVP, he's better come back for the next 2 movies. I am here for it.
Big ups.
Big ups.
He's the Phil Coulson of the Batman Matt Reeves universe.
But it's great because even like he's also the only one who reacts so like excitedly to seeing Bruce at the funeral, even though Bruce isn't a very public person, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, Mr. Wayne," like they've been to a club or something, and it's
Right.
just,
They hung out. Scotty,
yeah,
read a chat.
that's great.
And the fact that he did it at a funeral of all places, it's just like, oh, Officer Martinez, I can't be mad at you.
Phil
Black
said,
Philip Alvarez in the chat says, well, I thought it was gonna be as hang
It was
on.
going to end as
Thought it
soon
was gonna
as the
end
Riddler was
Joker
caught.
was caught, and we see him in Arkham Asylum with Joker, and then there's another 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then
Oh my
and it says-
god.
and then Black
What did
Phillip
you guys
says, "Wha-
Oh, wait.
what am I? I'm watching. What am I? Chopped liver? You're
Was
chopped
there any onions with you?
liver.
No, you're a full liver.
Your father beans and nice.
What did you guys okay, so spoilers again, whatever, I don't care. For the Batman. What did you think of the sort of interaction that was in the theatrical cut of the Batman between the Riddler and apparently the Joker?
Unless it's setting up something down the line. I mean, I like the idea that the Joker's already caught because we don't need to have yet another story of Batman and Joker meeting for the first time, which has done a lot.
Yeah.
But I admit on the first viewing, I didn't realize at first that it was Joker because looking at the silhouette, it almost looked like Two-Face or something because it looked like he had a completely scabbed, ripped over the one
No,
side.
I got Joker vibes.
And he's telling the story, and it's like, okay, so I thought maybe they're setting up the War of Jokes and Riddles, or more likely they're just teasing that as a possibility to get the fans.
War of Jokes and Riddles?
Yeah, it's where it's a Tom King story where the Riddler and Joker team up to kill Batman. And as you can imagine,
Where can I find out more about this?
you can find out
Dude,
more about this.
Tom King is a fucking master, bro.
Yeah,
I need that in my life.
All right,
Yes.
I think I could grab it actually for you right now.
Well, you're gonna show me a picture of it.
I'm not really going to show you a picture of it. Here we go.
Careful, it's about a lot of ego she's about to show you.
I know she's better than me. Never read it. Never read it.
This is volume 4 of the Tom King run.
I have
It's a
never
great
read it.
cover, by the way. Jeez.
Yeah, and here's the back. Look at that.
Awesome.
It's a great story. I'm not going to spoil it.
Do you understand why I think that the Batman has a bad Riddler design? Show me the back. Show me that cover again.
I don't think so yet. I mean, it's the very first time he's out on the town and on the scene. He's not there yet. He's not, he's not the dapper Don yet.
So trying to, in a way, adapt incel culture and
Hey, I'm voluntarily celibate.
all that under dark web behavior, Gamergate behavior.
I'm a Gamergate.
So
I ate your mom.
But they're doing all of that with him, but you can see where it's going. Like, especially now that Batman has rejected him and how harsh that is, and he's going to probably feel the need to be even, more egotistical it's like, oh, how dare you reject me? How could you, throw me aside? But going back to your initial question about the Joker, I mean, that scene itself I wasn't really crazy about because on the one hand, it seems like they're teasing that they're going to make a comeback, and maybe they will. Who knows? It's already rumored that they will both be reprising their roles in the sequel, or both sequels. But
I mean, it
But
makes
it
sense.
feels like an imposed sequel bait.
Well, no,
Right, but
well,
I'm
you
saying
have to
that I
remember,
where the
this
story's
was
going.
conceived
Well,
as
Kat was saying, I was interjecting.
But what I mean is that it's teasing this idea that the Joker and the Riddler might team. Like, there's going to be a comeback. Like, you haven't seen the last of the Riddler. This isn't just their version of it. Like, it's going somewhere. But not necessarily of the Joker. Like, I mean, I know we got to see a lot more of that in the deleted scene, which was really great seeing. I mean, it's a great seeing the way they had Barry Keoghan framed in there, the way he's playing it. He seems really scary and freaky. But even though the scene obviously doesn't work for plenty of
They
reasons.
were obscuring him so they could get a better actor for next time.
No, I don't think so. I don't think
No, they're
he's
gonna-
ready to introduce Joker yet. I think Joker
No.
will come in the third movie.
Yeah, he'll come in the third movie probably. But I mean that I think it's one to make the point to tell the audience, look, the Joker's already caught in this universe, so don't think that we're going to rush to do the Joker. We're not going to copy Dark Knight as the sequel type of format.
But
We're
that
doing
doesn't mean he's not pulling strings from Arkham, right?
Yeah, it's not. It's something else that's going on. But I just felt that the scene was a little bit unnecessary because I get if you want to set up a sequel, sure, but unless they're going to be the main focus of it, which we don't know yet, is it really something that needs to be there? I guess they do want to. They want. I mean, again, you need to cut back to the Riddler at least once to show him upset, so he feels like he lost at the end of the day. But then the Joker's teasing it, and you're right. Having the Joker do that builds in an expectation that we're not just going to see them back as cameos, but we're going to see something substantial from them both.
As much as we've already seen a certain bad guy a lot,
Fuck, the Joker is boring.
I wouldn't mind the second installment being Scarecrow. I know we've seen him a ton of times, but I wouldn't mind seeing
Give me Clayface. Give me Clayface.
Clayface would be cool. And actually, if you do a couple of villains, don't overstuff it, but a couple rogues would be great. Lead us into what we're going to get in the finale, the third movie with the Joker. I think.
Steve, I want to correct myself if I may. I do not think that and I apologize for the swear, but I do not think that the Joker is boring. But I don't like the reliance on the Joker.
Well, every time there's a Batman movie, everybody's like, "Where's the Joker?" Right? So it's almost like you have to have it, right?
Well, I admit I get why people go to that well, but I do kind of agree with Scott that because Batman is such a great rogues gallery to draw from. I don't like the idea of him constantly going back to the Joker.
Paste Pot Pete, for God's sake. Paste Pot Pete.
What?
Look him up.
Steve, for the love of Post Pot Pete, will you let other people talk?
No, okay. Yeah, because I've been dominating the conversation.
Yeah, come on.
With the fucking man. Kat, you were saying.
Yeah, I liked the portrayal of Joker in that deleted scene. Obviously, it doesn't work because the idea that Batman goes to him and he solves it in like 5 minutes or like 30 seconds, and then he doesn't use any of the information that the Joker gave him. So it's like I could see why they cut that, but it did seem kind of scary, and I think they definitely were going to keep the actor. He's really good at that, and so I look forward to seeing him again. Maybe not in the first sequel. Like let there be other characters to focus on, but. Yeah,
I have a love-hate relationship with the design they went for this Joker. I kind of wish they didn't reveal it in the deleted scene because he looks mental, but it's just like here we go again with the Jesus,
the disfigured.
Christ. Yeah,
I don't mind the disfigured thing as much as it just kind of looked derivative, right? It looked like. Maybe not derivative, maybe not be the right term. It just looked familiar.
Well, part of it, I think, has to be a combination of the toxic chemicals or something. Because the idea that he still has makeup in jail, it's like no. So
right,
So
it's not the makeup that's like. It's like look at that mouth. It's like
no, that was. You know what? I was fine with that.
It's gonna be distracting. No.
Well, no, but the whole thing is that every time that they make the Joker, they make sure that the mouse
The mouse with the house.
is incredibly disfigured to make a smile. And they're like, and it makes it more hideous every time that the smile is not the Joker's choice.
Well,
It's
Ernesto's right, though.
incredible.
There have been other versions of the Joker where he doesn't have to have the Glasgow smile. Just because they did that for the Dark Knight doesn't mean they have to copy it for everything. And granted,
So
he
it's
didn't have
just
one.
a guy with
And
lipstick.
granted, he didn't have one in the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. It's like you want to find a new design every once in a while. I like that his hair was kind of spoofed out and kind of demented looking.
Well,
yeah,
it looked like he had like the Batman Joker looked like he had, I don't know, like part of his head was shaved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked like all the skin and stuff around his mouth and chin were just missing. Like
He looked horribly burned.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was
Chemically burned.
Yeah. Well, maybe not chemically.
Well, it kind of looked that way.
All right,
Pussy,
fine.
You know.
You're pussy and bulbous.
Hey, fuck you.
Welcome to the channel, everyone. This is the Fantasmagorium.
Yeah, so I think they're going to go with somebody else for the sequel. He said it's going to be a crime saga for part 2. And I think maybe that's why I don't think part 2 is a placeholder title. I think that might actually be the title, a la Godfather Part 2.
I like great. I'm down with that.
I like that. I like that.
But Eoghan is a placeholder unless they want to commit to him.
I think they're going to commit to him. I mean, they were comfortable filming that whole, because obviously they wouldn't have shot that deleted scene if they knew they were going to cut it. So
yeah, but
I know a lot of people don't like that casting. I'm cool with it. I think he's a great actor. I think he'll pull it off. But it's not gonna be the Joker from Dark Knight. It's not gonna be the Joker that steals the movie in the sense that he's not going to be the focal point, in my opinion.
Good.
And who knows if I'm right or wrong, but I don't. So I think they're looking.
You're
for
probably right. You usually are.
Yeah, just to be the villain.
Well, also because of the way Gotham City is portrayed, I feel that the character won't be able to take over. Kind of like in The Dark Knight, because that movie mostly takes place in downtown Gotham, big financial district. To see the Joker there just seems kind of bizarre.
Yeah, it's weird. Out of place.
Version pastel-y guy showing up in an area where you see people in $3,000 Armani suits. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But I don't feel that with the Joker in this seedy, run-down version of Gotham isn't going to stand out as much, which I think is more fitting to the world they've created and more fitting for that, for the type of tone they've been going for, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Did I hit it right? Did I say neo-noir? Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, neo-noir is modern, so yeah. That's why they call neo-westerns today's TV shows. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What? Don't answer that.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
No, it's a really. I was not looking forward to watching this movie.
No, I know you've
and
it for months and months.
It surprised me.
I'm glad. I told you you'd like it.
It took a long time. Like I watched it for an hour, and I was. And you know what? I get the 7 comparisons.
Hey, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm not asking your permission.
Pernition. My great pernition.
But like this is a really good movie if you're a movie fan. This is a really good Batman movie if you're a Batman fan. So yeah, like by definition, this movie is a 10 out of 10.
We're not getting to that part yet, Scott.
Oh, okay. What did you want to talk about, Kat?
Well, I think we're going to do the recap.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip. This is going to take approximately as long as the movie. I'm going to get some beer.
As long as the movie. This also is a great poster.
I'm going to mute myself.
That's cool.
And isn't that a great steelbook cover?
Love it.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
That's the one they should have led with. This is the second reissue. I have both.
Well, and when you watch it on 4K, you're not going to get the compression and the pixels. So
Yeah.
So
One thing I did like about this intro, that you could easily presume that it's Batman's going to show up at the mayoral candidate's house, because twice now we have two binocular moments in this movie, one with the Riddler and one with Batman. Batman with Catwoman, the Riddler with the mayoral candidate. But everything that's leading up to that moment before we see the reveal, and I know you're going to jump into it, Kat, but before we see that reveal, you could argue that that could have been Batman going in there to question him about some corrupt dealings that he's doing under the table. But once you look that it's actually the silhouette of a Riddler, just like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I didn't catch that on the first viewing. On the first viewing, I didn't catch it. I didn't know why we were looking through the binoculars or who was looking until I way later.
Yeah,
I don't even know why we hire
but
Kat to do the recap.
it makes sense that it's something
She's good
Batman
at
would do, because at some point you see the binoculars going up to the ceiling where the opening rooftop. It's just like, oh yeah, that's definitely where Batman would walk.
Oh
in.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
yeah,
expecting Batman to
totally.
show up behind them at some point, and once the Riddler, I'm pretty sure the entire audience in my theater was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
yeah, so that was a great one. So
I'm sorry, Kat.
no, I was going to get into the recap once but you go first.
I was just saying it really drives the point home the second time you see it in the movie. Later on in the movie, you know, it's like, oh, okay, now I see. But yeah, that stood out to me too. So
Yeah, yeah. So the film opens with the POV shot of the Riddler looking through the binoculars, and I assumed at first I actually did assume it was going to be the villain, because that's kind of what they've been doing lately with some of these movies, like starting with, you know, Dark Knight begins with Joker, Dark Knight Rises begins with Bane, and I'm thinking they're probably going to do something like that for the Batman.
Well, and just to interrupt just real quick, because of the heavy breathing that's behind it, you're like, okay, it's not the SWAT team sniper.
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, they're not like
He's not heavily breathing into the microphone, right?
And like with Batman Returns beginning with the Penguin and Forever, and they're all beginning with, you know, the villain thing. So
yeah,
I figured, okay, it's Riddler. He's trying to find a way in. We see that the mayor is playing with his son, who's about to go trick or treating. I love the music that's playing, like this kind of operatic. So it's like really great. And so then when it cuts to the mayor watching the recap, and they're talking about how the seawall construction has stalled, that the renewal program has been renewing. The city's been renewing for 20 years, hasn't changed anything, and Bella's really challenging him on this front. Thank you, Phil. And so he eventually turns off the TV and calls his campaign manager, basically asking, what the hell? She's ahead in the polls. What's going on? And he eventually's like, you know what? I can't deal with this right now. I'll call you later. And he hangs up the phone. And we've seen the Riddler in the back already from the glow on the TV, which is really great. They got a reaction to my theater as well. And once the lights go out, he just jumps him from behind. It starts bashing him in the head, kneels over him, duct takes him up, and you have that great shot from the trailer where he just unspools the tape. And then we cut into a great, brilliant montage of Batman giving narration, talking about what he thinks he represents, how he can't be everywhere all the time. And you're seeing some criminals who are like spray painting the word broken at City Hall. You see a guy wearing what is basically a drop head mask, which why is there a mask of a drop head thing? I don't know.
I this is what I wanted to ask you guys, because maybe I completely missed it, but what is the significance? Because not only do you see the mask several times, you see it spray painted on the walls.
Right.
Too.
So because the drug is eye drops.
Right.
That's how they're taking the drug, because they call them drop heads. And I don't know why it's been turned into like you said, that cartoonish type,
like a guy,
thing, like it's a logo from an actual company or something that puts it out. So I don't really understand the law, especially when you see, I mean, it's the packets that you see later in the movie. They have those on it, but makes it look too corporate, as opposed to some type of street drug, even though it is. So that was admittedly a little weird, but I thought that mask looked kind of neat. And so you have the stick up going on, you have the thugs following the guy onto the train, and we're wondering where's Batman, and the music is just building and building, and then finally he comes out, and or before he comes out, you have like bits where the criminals spray painting on the City Hall see the light and they freak out and they run away. The criminal
Cat.
God, what?
You know what? You're my favorite co-host, because you're the one who says fucking shit.
Jesus Christ. What do you want?
The musical notes that play when Batman appears, are they similar to The Shining? Like bum 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 bum.
I don't know. I'd have to watch The Shining again.
I have to watch it again. I don't think
It
so.
is a very imposing Batman. Like when Batman shows up.
You mean in the train station out of the
Yeah, that.
Yeah, it was one of the coolest things I've seen in cinema.
That
in
was
a long time, dude.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know where you guys are.
It's not. That's not that.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
the drop
So, Kat,
guy
please.
picks up the store. He runs outside and gets run over by a car because he's too busy looking at the bat signal.
Oh, right.
The guy who's being pressured by the gang members to beat up this dude at the train station. Ironically, he's the same actor who plays was it Tim Drake on
Tim Drake and Titans? Yeah.
Yeah, and he actually filmed this bit before then, so there's no connection there. But I thought that was animated.
Titans is really good too. Just get past the first season and it really gets good.
So Batman comes out of the shadows, he beats everybody up, and the kid is kind of nervous, and he tells them to pull a gun on him, and they try and shoot him anyway. He's got protection from tasers, and they take off, and the guy's petrified, "Don't hurt me," and he leaves, and we cut to
that is the worst description of that scene I have ever heard.
That scene is everything.
I know. Anyway, moving on.
Time, Scott. And so I'm not going to talk about it fifth time. So from there,
but I like it. You know what, Kat? Maybe I like hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, I do.
But it's the same thing that we had, like we talked about before. He comes out of the
I know, but you're a storyteller, and the way you tell that story, it makes me happy.
So he comes out of the shadows, like I fucking said,
15 times.
He beats the shit out of one of these guys, and then they all start beating him up, and it's a fight. We've already talked about this scene, so I'm going to move on.
Okay.
Batman eventually is called to the crime scene at the mayor's place, and all the cops are kind of just looking at him in kind of bewilderment, and some of them in awe, and some of them are just kind of weirded out. And then you have Officer Martinez, who's not afraid, and he's just like, "Yeah, you're not coming in here." And Gordon's like, "He's with me," which is kind of funny. It's just like, well, who else would he be with? He's not just going to walk right in here with the cops. So he comes in, and we see that the mayor has since had his whole face duct taped up, or his whole head, and it says "No More Lies" spray painted on it. And you blink and you'll miss it, but you'll see it on the wall that one of the newspaper articles says that the seawall construction has been halted. No More Lies spray painted over there as well. Batman notes that the thumb has been cut off from the mayor, and that he was still alive when he cut it off. He finds the murder weapon, and like Steve mentioned, Batman kind of walks over there, looks at it, and the crime scene techs kind of walk up behind him, and they're like, "Oh," and then they take the pictures. And then we see the first riddle left behind for Batman in the form of a letter that says, "To the Batman," and
that is awesome. Yeah, it is one of my favorite things about the movie is that the Riddler is actually sending notes to the Batman. That is in character with the Batman.
Yeah, the
Riddler. Pardon me.
The first one says, "Who are you? Haven't a clue. Let's play a game, just me and you." And he opens the card, and I thought there was going to be a Court of Owls tease because they have like the owl on the cover. I thought that's kind of funny. But he opens the card, and
I thought so too.
We solve the riddle really easy. It's like, what does a liar do when he's dead? He lies still. You don't even need to do the substitution cipher. But it takes Batman a minute to figure it out. And then the commissioner, Pete Savage, shows up, and he's really upset that Gordon has allowed Batman on the scene. And he's like, he's a vigilante. He could be involved. He could be the suspect. And Gordon's like, I don't think so, and shows him the Riddler card, and he gets, but he's involved, and he's like, Pete Savage is freaking out even more, but he still lets Batman go. And Gordon's like, we really got to get out of here. And Batman sees the mayor's son in his Halloween costume. He's like, yeah, they discovered him when they came home from trick-or-treating. And Bruce kind of has a moment there. And Gordon's like, dude, we really got to go, man. So they leave.
But they connect. Like, I'm going to protect this boy.
Right. And so they leave. And Bruce has since changed out of the Batman costume. And he's watching the press conference that Commissioner Savage is getting. And you can tell that the commissioner is very upset that this has happened. Like, it's a personal slight against him almost, giving this whole, a son lost a father, a wife lost a husband, and the city lost a leader, and, really leaning into that whole thing. And I will not rest until this vigilante, brought to justice. And Bruce takes off on his motorcycle, which has the corner of the front of the bike has a little flare up, almost looking like bat ears in a way.
Oh, not a little.
A lot. Well, I mean, a lot, but it doesn't have this front cowling bit. So he rides the motorcycle through the city, and we get a sense for it. They have like their own version of Times Square, which has like a bajillion digital LED signs.
I like Gotham Square.
Yeah, it's like they're doing their imitation there, and
Too many LED signs.
Well,
Right.
no, but also this is kind of like the building of Gotham City that it reminds me of Arkham City. It reminds me of the video games. I feel like I've been here, and
You know what?
this is the first time that I know that place. I beat the shit out of people when I was pretending to be Batman.
Even though it was a little gaudy, it did not seem like I didn't see. It seemed less like New York and more like Gotham in that frame. Yeah.
No, in the entire movie, I feel like this city is individual.
yeah. So he rides home on the motorcycle, and we follow him out of the main city into the outskirts, and he goes eventually into this derelict tunnel that leads into an old abandoned subway station beneath Wayne Tower. And it's neat because you can actually see the stairwells that are still in there. You can see what's left of the rail line and the breakers that are there, and you see the Batmobile is under the tarp on an elevated platform. And Bruce has got these computers set up, and it looks really low tech, like almost like what the Riddler's lair ends up looking like in a way. And he gets out of the costume, and we see that he's taken off a contact lens, which has recorded everything that he saw, and he's watching it. Alfred shows up, and the news is reporting the mayor's murder, and the news mentions that
The relationship between Bruce Wayne and Alfred is lacking.
Yeah, you could tell that Alfred is really trying to push Bruce in the right direction, but Bruce is not having it because he's just too absorbed into what he's doing. And when Alfred sees what's on the playback and that he's like, the killer left this for the Batman. Why is he writing to you? He's like, I don't know. And so they go through they look at the cipher, and they're trying to how they're going to figure it out. And that's when Alfred tells them that the accountants are coming. And he's like, why? Because I couldn't get you to go down there, so they're going to come here. And he's like, stop it. I don't really care. You're not my father. And he's like, I'm well aware. And he's just, you can tell that Alfred has kind of had it up to here with Bruce's bullshit, because it's like, I'm not gonna, like, you need to be leading the company and doing, it's like, unless you sign the company over to me, I'm gonna keep breathing down your neck about this. And if this whole Kurt Cobain thing continues, and it won't be long, you'll have nothing left. You are just drowning out. But he's like, I don't care about that. He's like, you don't care about your family's legacy. And he's like, no, this is the legacy. And he's like, and you can tell that Alfred.
And I don't like that.
Right. And you also see on I like it because.
Why do you like it? Explain yourself.
Because it's part of his character arc. I don't understand why people are so hung up on this. It's easy to see that's his.
No, it's
because I want Bruce Wayne to be a likable individual from the onset.
No, not here. Not in
I
this
do.
script. No, not in this script. For what it.
Yeah, no, I get where
Right
you're coming
here.
from.
He has to have angst and a rebellious nature.
But I do have an expectation on how I would prefer Bruce Wayne to perform.
No, I get that.
By virtue of this story, I understand what you're saying. This isn't that story.
This
Right,
is
which is
exactly
why you can't really judge it for what it didn't give you. It's like you judge it for what on its
I-
own merits.
Yeah, I just said that. Shut up. Keep
Well, then
going.
why did you
You said
derail
it
me when I was
backwards.
explaining it?
Because I had to come to terms.
Yeah.
Come
Dude, I
on,
didn't
this is an
I-
exploration, Kat. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I actually wanted to learn things here.
Yeah,
the
but,
very
like-
first time, I'm sorry, Kat. The very first time,
So many people. Let's rename the stream. So many people interrupting
I'm
Kat.
sorry, but the very first time I saw it, it took me out of the movie a minute. I was like, oh man, what? Like, you're a dick, but then you come right back to, oh yeah, you're supposed to be a dick in this part, in this angsty, I guess, Kurt Cobain-ish, whatever, kind of angsty way. So, but it did take me back. So I understand why people see it that way and like, oh, he's just an asshole. I don't think he's an asshole. I think he's processing. He doesn't know how to process, right? And he's still lashing out at even 2 years later. He's lashing out at Alfred.
Yeah,
It took me so long to figure out that his gauntlet, I thought it was like arrows, but I realized, like, I don't know, 3/4 through the movie that was like a don't hit my face with guns. That was fun.
A guard.
It was a guard.
That's a
Yeah.
Raja Ghul thing, right? Raza Ghul. Raza.
You were saying cat. I apologize for everything.
I apologize, but
I
anyway,
do this
where was
time.
So you see on the TV that they're talking about the Wayne murders were unsolved, and they're bringing it up because it's like the 20th anniversary, and then they tell us that Thomas was running for mayor, which is a new one. It's like, oh, okay. And they mention the drug bust, and you see Maroney on the screen at one point in archival footage, and setting up that whole thing. So the next day, Bruce comes downstairs to find Alfred trying to work on the riddle, and he's like, yeah, and he kind of jokes with him, I'm reminiscing on my times in the circus, and he's doing the substitution cipher, and he's trying to figure it out, and Dory, who's the live-in maid, I suppose, comes forward and says that.
Now, did you take that as the time in the circus as in the circus or in the Secret Service?
Secret Service, yeah, British
okay.
Secret Service, the circus. Because that was off Circus. That's the name of the street or something. That's
okay. All right,
Yeah,
because that's how I took it too, but I wasn't sure if I was right or wrong there. Okay, cool.
yeah. So Dory shows up and says that the accountants are here, and Alfred's like, okay, send them in, and we don't actually get to see the meeting, or if Bruce even bothers getting dressed up to go to it.
But it does assist in his like both Alfred and Bruce figuring out the cipher because they had to work with math for a bit, so it inspired. I liked that.
Yeah, and we cut later to the Batcave, and we see how they've made a lot of progress on it. And because they haven't solved a lot of the symbols yet, Bruce suggests to do it the other way around. Subtract the solved ciphers from the ones which aren't. And Alfred's like, well, I don't see how that's going to help. And they do it anyway. And then it just says drive on this whole huge cipher.
Yeah, because
it was so good.
A cipher or a part of a cipher, he's like, what if it's the whole thing? It's the whole
I
thing.
was so satisfied. That was a Riddler riddle.
These are the kind of things I love about the world's greatest detective part of it. Yeah, I love it.
That's another thing which I found was inconsistent. Like, if you're able to make these good logical leaps, you should be able to solve some of the other things which are a bit more blatant.
No,
but it all came back to suspension of disbelief for myself.
Sure.
Yeah, so he sees the word drive, and he's like, oh, well, this is the crime scene of the mayor, so this must relate to the mayor. So we then cut to him and Gordon in the mayor's garage, and Gordon's like, man, it must be good to be the mayor, because he's got like all these expensive cars lined up. And they're walking through there, and he eventually finds these like hedge clippers that have been shoved into the tire of the mayor's car, and they're bloody. And he realizes that's the weapon that cut the mayor's thumb off. And he gets in the car and sees that the thumb drive sticking out of the key.
A thumb drive.
Yeah, a thumb drive. And Gordon's like,
so can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
In that scene, it says Wayne. I think Empire, right? Wayne Empire, on the concrete wall in back. Where are they? I never figured out where they were.
It clearly is the garage of the mayor's house, of the mayor's mansion. So all the cars.
I thought that's where they were.
Underground garage.
Well, because it looked more. It didn't look so much like a garage that would be affiliated with that nice, posh mansion that the mayor was living at. It looked like it was a more like a car garage, like a
downtown.
A back town type thing, where maybe that's where he hides his cars.
It just
to hide his money.
It just looked like a basement garage.
Right. It might just be a parking garage that he owns and hides all his
lavish stuff and
all his butt stuff.
So they take the keys out of the ignition and see that the mayor's severed thumb is tied on it, and there's actually a pad there for them to actually punch it in. And Bruce just holds it up, and he's not even going to say anything. Drive, and Gordon's like, oh, this guy's just hilarious. So they punch it in, and it reveals all of these candid photos of the mayor walking out. Again,
I would like to say that this Batman is joyless.
It's not joyless. It's engaging.
No, I don't agree with that, Scotty.
I do not. He's not funny.
Of course not. That's not the. Okay. You don't go to a drama movie to get yucks.
Who is he talking to in that particular instance when he has the thumb drive?
He held it up and he's looking at Gordon.
Jim Gordon.
You didn't think that was funny?
Like Jim
The
Gordon
thumb
is
drive?
literally his best friend.
Not yet.
Aside from Alfred.
Not yet, though. They're not like.
Well, no, apparently he doesn't even like Alfred in this universe.
Like Gordon says, I've known you almost 2 years, and I don't even know your name. I barely know anything about you.
He's never gonna find out the name. That one went like whoosh. I was like, I've known you for 2 years and I don't even know who you are. And it's like, you never will.
Right,
You
but
never
right.
will.
Batman's not funny. It's not a comedy thing. But when he's holding up the thumb drive, that's funny because it's like
It's not a night at the fucking Laugh Factory.
Well, I'm not saying. I'm just like, in terms of the cadence of the delivery of the line, I would have liked it better if he had said thumb drive instead of being like thumb drive. Like there was something about it. I just wanted him to do it better, and he didn't.
The joke is that it's on the one hand a juvenile thing, and on the other hand it's dark humor, so it works.
So
And
apparently the joke is on us because
he puts the thumb. He enters the thumb's fingerprint to access the computer built in on the car's console, and that unlocks all these photographs of the mayor with some girl leaving the iceberg lounge with the Penguin. And he's like, what the hell is this about? And he's wondering if that's what he's lying about. Like with the whole, he lies still. It's like lying about her, and they're not really sure. But then all the photos automatically get sent out to all these email contacts from Gordon's computer. He's like, oh shit. He's like, the mayor's the commissioner's gonna have my ass for this. And it would have been funny to see such a scene, but we don't actually get to see that. But all the photos go out, and they're like, well, how do we get to? And Gordon's like, how are we gonna get to the Penguin? We can't just walk in there. And Batman's like, maybe we can. So he just goes to the iceberg lounge. He knocks on the door. The door opens, and it's the twins, and they're like, there's no Penguin here. You know, he wants. Yeah, no, we're not gonna be able to help you. And wouldn't want to get your suit all messed up. He's like, mine or yours, because he threatens to beat him up otherwise. So Batman just kind of sucker punches his way in. You hear people saying like, oh my God, look at what he did. The twins start trying to follow him in. You have a bunch of the security starting to fight Batman as he's moving up the stairs through the rave. And as they're fighting their way through there, one cop in particular, Mackenzie, breaks his nose in the process. And then eventually the Penguin catches up to him. He's like, whoa, take it easy. Looking for me? And he calls himself Oz, which I thought was okay. So
Ozzy.
Yeah. He's like, I'm Oz. And so they go into the back room, which is like a neat, it's like you're walking along a narrow catwalk along the side of the club, and you get into this kind of glass box.
Like the VIP, yeah.
Yeah,
like
and he's talking to Batman, and he's looking at the photos, and he's like, oh, is that the mayor? He's like, oh shit, look at that, you know? Like he pretends like he doesn't know. He's like, we came out at the same time, doesn't mean I know shit. And Batman doesn't really push him very hard. Then Selena Kyle comes in as the waitress, and she gives him some money in exchange. She gives her some drops to sell, and he's like, okay, thank you, and she leaves. And she kind of.
How do you feel about the drop heads? What kind of drug is a drop?
I'm guessing it's just a way to get high. I mean, it is a way.
Like they do it in their eyeballs, don't they?
Yeah, they're eye drops.
So there's this drug, called I guess drops.
And the guy's the DA, right?
Sorry, I just wanted to add context with the drug.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she kind of sees that Batman is in there, and Penguin's like, "Don't worry, sweetheart, Mr. Vengeance doesn't bite." And so she gets the drops. She leaves, and after Batman decides that he's not going to push Penguin very hard, he decides to follow her instead. So she eventually leaves. She leaves the club, and as she does, we see the Riddler in his apartment across the street, looking at her with a telephoto lens, in a super wide shot. She gets out onto the street and she flags down a taxi. She goes home, finds Annika freaking out because the news, her roommate and girlfriend Annika, because the news of the mayor's photos with her leaving the club is all over the place, and she's panicking, and she's like, "Don't worry, we're gonna get out of the city. You'll be fine." And this is where Batman is starting to spy on them from across the street, which looks a bit kind of pervy a little bit. Spying on her, like total like peeping Tom, where she's changing out of her underwear. Mm-hmm. And he's like watching this, but I love when she gets into the cat suit for the first time, and the way she moves in the suit when she comes out the window and starts climbing down onto the street. I'm like, man, that is like right out of a comic. That is Catwoman, you know?
Yeah, it's badass.
So he follows her, and she goes to the mayor's mansion, which is still cordoned off as a crime scene. She sneaks into the skylight. Batman follows her. She breaks into the safe. We see that her mask is more like just a ski mask that has two little knobs for like the cat ears.
Yeah.
And she pulls something out of the safe, and Batman's like, "You're pretty good at that." And they start fighting each other. He wins the fight easily after pinning her to the table and snatches the thing out of her hand and sees that it's just Annika's passport. And he thinks that she killed the mayor. He's like, "Oh, did he kill her? And you're getting revenge? You got revenge on the mayor for killing this girl?" And he's like, "No, you got the wrong idea. She worked in the club. The mayor had her passport. I'm here to get it back for her." And then a cop comes in, so they hide and they're like really quiet briefly. And
also I would like to say that when they are quiet briefly, Batman protects Catwoman because Catwoman is not doing anything wrong in Batman's opinion. Like, Batman has a very strict moral code. Catwoman has not killed anyone, and Batman understands Catwoman's motivations, and so he protects her, and it does motivate the rest of the movie, which I like, which I really like. And so, he holds her.
Yeah, the payoff at the end, Scotty, works because of exactly what happened right there. Right?
They are.
Yeah, they are.
And so Batman kind of lets slip the fact that he was watching them. And she's like, "Yeah, she did look pretty upset." And she's like, kind of taken aback that you've been watching me type of thing. But they take off together and they race back to the apartment to find that it's since been ransacked and Annika's missing. And on the news, a video has been sent in about the murder of Commissioner Pete Savage, and we're seeing that the Riddler has sent in a video, again very narcissistic now, where he's put the commissioner in some type of rat trap that's like the rats are going to move through the thing. And
it's like a habit trail.
Yeah,
it's
a rat trap.
And he says, "You'll find this guy will soon be losing his face." And he puts releases more photos to the public showing the commissioner doing dirty drug deals outside the Iceberg Lounge. And that's when Catwoman's like, "Hey, I've seen that guy too. He's at the 44 Below." And Batman's like, "What?" She's like, "It's at the Iceberg Lounge. It's the club within the club." So then he kind of comes up with this idea that they need to get into the club. And so he gives her the contact lens. And at first he's like checking on her to make sure that the thing is, she thinks he's being, because she accuses him of not really caring about what happens to her. "Oh, you're just going to send me into the den of wolves and whatever happens. And then he's like, "Wait, come here, look at me." And she thinks he's going to say something nice, and instead he's just checking to see if
here's your earpiece.
Yeah,
she's like, "What? Like, is there going to be a moment right here?" And he seems like he wants to, but he just hands her the
I really liked it.
I loved it. It was a good tense, weird, cool.
And Batman also caught up with Gordon at the morgue where they see the body and that the Riddler left behind a new clue in a maze saying...
well, can I take an aside here for a moment?
Yeah.
All right. So I have... there are a couple of things in this movie that could be considered as being woke.
No. Really?
Well, okay. No, I just wanted to get it out of the way.
Okay. I didn't see any of that, but whatever.
But there is a thing where, like, when Batman is, like, looking into Catwoman's eyes and Catwoman is being longing for Batman.
Yeah.
And he's doing business. I loved it. I thought it was amazing.
That's not woke.
Yeah, there's nothing remotely woke about that. Why would you even say that?
Because I think that it is important to recognize the best of storytelling and relationship building within a narrative, as opposed to talking about.
No, I get that, but that wasn't woke. So please continue.
No, but there was a thing right before that where there was a part where Catwoman said there were privileged white people.
We're not even close to that part yet, so we'll get to that when we get there.
But even still, I mean, yeah, who cares? I mean, okay, please, sorry, Kat.
Yeah, so as I was saying, he goes to the police station, or goes to the morgue, I should say, and they looked at the body and they see that. Fuck, where was I?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, shut up, and maybe I can finish it. And so he sees that the maze trap says El Rata, you are El Rata Alada, and he can't figure out what it is yet. He hooks up with Catwoman.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hooks up with
Hit the
Catwoman.
bell, ring the button.
Hooks up with Catwoman and sends her to the 44 below. And I like that we watch most of the scene through her POV, through the camera, and all she has to do is look at somebody, and the computer's already looking up who they are. And it's like,
I like that too. That was awesome.
Batman is kind of startled that he sees half the DA's office inside the club, and they're all wasted. And this is where and Batman's like, "Hey, that's the DA," and she's like, "No, if I look back at him to verify, he's gonna see that I'm looking at him." He's like, "Do it."
Right.
So she looks. He's like, "And he's coming for me. Happy now." So he goes to sit down. Talks.
Now
to
I know this has nothing to do with it, maybe, but it gave me Oracle vibes. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
way down the line. Well, maybe
Yeah,
Cool.
so they're talking, and he's totally wasted, and it gets into a bit of explain-a-vision where he basically spools out everything, that they had an informant in the Maroney case to take him down big, and that the Riddler, he knows so much, this rat, and finally one of the other guys says, "Dude, you should just shut up." And then Batman says to Catwoman, ask him about the rat, and she kind of puts her hand on his leg. She's like, "What's this about a rat?" And the buddy who told him to shut up doesn't tell him to shut up again. He just lets him spool out more information.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of contrived. And then that's when the girl says, "You shut up, otherwise this is the stuff that got that Russian girl killed."
Yeah.
And then Selena perks up. She's like, "What do you know about that?" And she just gets up to leave. And so Selena follows him, and Batman's like, "No, stay with the DA." She's like, "Fuck you, I'm here for my friend." And she catches up to her. She's like, "What happened to Annika?" And she gets mad. She's like, "Shut up, you want to die too?" And then that's when we meet Falcone and Penguin, and Falcone's like, "Hey, what's the problem, ladies?" And Penguin's like, "Yeah, keep it festive down here." They're like, "Sorry, Oz." And that's when
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
Did Falcone have sex with Catwoman?
No.
Okay.
No? Zero? No? Or yes?
No. And so he looks at her, but like Ernesto mentioned earlier, he's kind of thinking about it. Like, how's he going to bed this girl, being nice to her? And he says, "Yeah, well, don't be a stranger next time." And Batman gets kind of upset by this, demanding to know what Catwoman's relationship with him. And she just runs into the bathroom. And she's like, "I don't have a relationship with him." And she's just fed up. So she takes the contact lens out, and he's all upset. But she storms out.
Well, she does have a relationship with him.
She storms out of the
But
club.
it's not a
It's
not a sexy
It's not a sexual relationship. I'm sorry for bringing it up.
The DA follows her outside and tries to hit her up some more, and she's like, "Forget it." And she just takes off into a cab, and they start playing the Riddler's theme music as the DA goes back to his car, and he gets in, and the Riddler attacks him from behind, and the camera does an interesting thing where it goes into like out of focus.
And here's where I was like, oh, he's gonna take him out from his perch.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I thought too. Because it's like they'd already caught it, and so instead he's in the car, and it's because when the music first starts, Catwoman's actually looking at the DA's car, which I thought was kind of odd. How he's just like parked out front, like there's no valet and there's nobody else there. It's just like the car's just kind of sitting there.
Right. Kind of. Yeah, it's weird.
And he gets attacked, and we see the Riddler's putting some type of collar on him, and the camera backs out, and we see that this is right up against the seawall, and the waters are just crashing up against it.
Red and blue, red and blue, red and blue.
Well, don't forget, this is all about the backdrop of the renewal.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah.
Right, and so the next day, Batman...
But this is specifically, he's there to take out the DA, right?
No.
Right.
We don't agree on that?
Yeah, he's there to take... Well, he's there... Well, because I think it's like what they allude to later in the movie when they break into his apartment and you see that he had other traps ready to go. And so I think it's just that he probably has a list of people that he's going to target. Okay, gotcha. Like, yes, he wants to get the DA, but he doesn't necessarily know for certain if that's going to be the guy he's going to have the opportunity to snag.
So mass chaos works in yeah, okay, cool.
And so the next morning, Batman goes to meet with Gordon, and he keeps him updated about what he learned. And Gordon's like, "How do you know this about the rat in the case, in the Maroney case?" He's like, he says, I found this interesting. Batman specifically says, "We have an informant." And I like that Gordon doesn't ask him who it is. He just totally respects the anonymity of it. And Gordon's kind of worried. He's like, "Hey, I worked that case." And because Batman says they're going after the people who work the Maroney case. He's like, "You don't have to worry." He's like, "Why not?" He's like, "Well, because you're not corrupt." He's like, "Coulson's dirty." And I did find Gordon's naivete to be a bit like funny at times because it's like, come on, nothing's getting done in this city, and you're surprised that people, it's like
Right.
if half the DA's office is comfortable going down to the club and getting wasted every night, then clearly you should know about this,
Yeah.
So Batman tells him about the Rata Alada must refer to this rat in the case, and he's like, well, what does that translate to? And he says, well, rat with wings. And they're like, penguin has like penguins have wings. And they're kind of thinking about it, but they haven't decided what their move's going to be.
It's so stupid. It is the stupidest part of the entire movie is that they are establishing that it's like, oh, rat with wings, and that's a pigeon. And it's like, no, it's a bat, you monkey.
Yeah, I didn't understand why he immediately jumped to stool pigeon either. I hadn't even heard that term before, stool pigeon.
I've heard stool pigeon.
Yeah, but it's an older. It's an
But
older.
it's a Batman movie. It's kind of like it's that moment in The Dark Knight where it's like, oh, and you made a sonar just like a submarine, Mr. Wayne. And it's like, oh, we're just gonna point away from this. No, a rat with wings is a fucking bat.
Yes, a stool pigeon is a big. It's a colloquialism that has been around for.
You want to work on that pronunciation, my friend?
No, thank you.
All right.
I stumbled over that, but
all right, fine. We can edit this out and post.
I feel like you're drunker than usual on these streams, Scott.
Oh no, I'm celebrating. You know what? And Kat, the reason that I am celebrating is because this is such a good Batman movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. This is the movie that I was really looking forward to, and I'm glad that
you weren't.
Well, no. This is the one that I hadn't seen that I wanted to hate.
Yeah, you hate. I mean,
and we got here, and I watched it, and this is, you know what, this is a great Batman movie, if not one of the greatest. And so I appreciate it.
Yeah, so
moving on.
Yeah. So Batman reasons that we have to find out who the rat is. And we cut to the Batcave and he's in his 3-piece suit. And Alfred's like, what's going on? You finally going out? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to the mayor's funeral because serial killers tend to visit their crimes and things like that. And he's like, I can't find my cufflinks. I misplaced them. And Alfred's like, oh, you can take mine. He's like, I don't want your cufflinks, Alfred. And he's like, well, you have to keep up appearances. You're still a Wayne. And that's the first moment where Bruce kind of feels some type of friendliness with Alfred, where he kind of smiles that the notion that Alfred cares about this so much more than he does.
You're still
like
a Wayne.
A tiny bit. But there's something there. So then we cut to Bruce driving a Corvette Stingray, great car. He's driving it up to the... Yeah, he's driving it up to the church for the funeral.
Cars in this movie are amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, please.
He passes a group of like Riddler supporters who are holding up signs saying "No more lies." They're all chanting, and I'm thinking, I guess this is just generic because the Riddler has not up to this point laid a specific accusation against the mayor. Like, it was just very generic, "No more lies," but he didn't say specifically what about. Because even the revelation that he's had an affair, it's like, okay, who cares, So,
it does have a cultural commentary.
Yeah, and so they're all like, "No more lies."
The movie, I mean.
So Bruce turns in his car to the valet, and he sees Falcone and Penguin get out of a car with a woman who he first assumes is Selena, and he races up the stairs to catch her, and then they surprise us where it's the other girl who had told everybody to shut up at the club. And Falcone's bodyguards immediately sees Bruce, and Falcone's like, whoa, careful, Oz, you got the Prince of the City there. He's like, has he ever met Bruce Wayne? He's like, whoa, wow, is that right? And it's like, he's kind of shocked to meet him. And that's when Falcone tells the story about the time he got shot and that he couldn't go to a hospital. So they went to Wayne Manor and operated him on the table. And then he could see Bruce spying on him from the stairs. And that, from then on, I was really good with your father. And Bruce is like, no.
He actually tells him, your dad saved my life. Didn't he say that earlier?
Yeah, he says this. Yeah, your father saved my life. And how it means something that he must like me. And Bruce is like, no, he just took the Hippocratic Oath. Like, there's nothing deeper about this.
It was a sworn duty.
Right. And so, like, Bruce still doesn't want to believe that he believes the best about his father. He doesn't want to think that there could be anything untoward. Yeah. So he kind of brushes him off.
Yeah.
Falcone's just kind of laughing at him about it. And so
he had a good chuckle.
Yeah, he had a good chuckle about that. And Bruce walks in and he's spied by this guy leaning. And it's just a great scene where he's just walking very slowly and he's looking around at people in the crowd, looking up towards the upper balconies. And finally, this one guy signals him out because the MC is talking about all the great accomplishments the mayor has had, specifically the renewal program as a safety net for the city. And the guy's like, what good's a safety net? It didn't do anything to save my daughter when she needed it. And I love how he doesn't get specific. You could read that many different ways. And he's like, yeah, that mayor was just another rich scumsucker. Know what I mean? As he turns to Bruce, he's like, hey, don't I know you? And then Bella Real, the mayor's challenger, is like, oh, Bruce. And the look on the guy's face is he's just kind of really the fury and the fear that this guy, the type of person that he's talking about is now walking away from him, and he disappears into silhouette as Bella Real is being very blunt in her accusation that Bruce isn't doing enough to help the city. And before he can respond, she spots the mayor's son. She's like, oh, I have to go pay my respects. And Bruce is standing around. He's looking, and then we suddenly hear the commotion going on outside, the screams. We're not sure what it is. And he looks up and he sees the Riddler. And he's pretty sure that it is the Riddler, the way he's looking at him. But then the car comes barreling inside. Bruce runs and dives to save the mayor's son. The car crashes into the podium, and it's got duct tape all over it. And it says like DOA for Dead on Arrival, with DA as that. And everybody's freaking out, and Gordon and all the cops draw their guns. Oh, we had that great moment that Ernesto's alluding to with this picture where Officer Martinez is like, hey, Mr. Wayne. Like finds him to be so awesome. And then the DA gets out of the car, and they're all surprised because they just gotten a phone call that he was missing. And somebody shouts, there's a bomb around his neck. And they're all screaming, and they clear the building. And he's got a note card on his chest that says, to the Batman. And then we cut to nightfall. And
Wait.
What?
So, to the Batman is plastered to the man's chest.
Yeah.
Hang on, where are you?
Yes, what? Don't keep taking these arbitrary pauses. It's going to take all night.
No, it's not arbitrary pauses. It's a matter of resetting your audio. So anyway, no. So he has an envelope on his chest that says to the Batman, and Bruce Wayne is in the Goldern Church where that is presented, and I think that is incredible. And yeah,
that's it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so he sees it there. We like I said, they cut to nightfall. He shows up as Batman. Coulson is sitting there rather dejected. You have the police chief outside. Well, like, what's he looking at? Because they're sending in a bomb squad robot to see if they could do anything. But then Batman steps out of the shadows, and he pulls the card off of the guy's chest as the phone is still ringing. And the card says, I'm there whenever you need a ring, and answer, telling him to answer the phone. So he answers the phone, and it's like a video call. And
yeah, this is great.
Yeah, it's like a curtain's hanging with a question mark on it, and the Riddler's there, and he's live streaming. He's like, "Hey, check out my followers, we're live," and he's saying that the man sitting before you, Gil Coulson, is dead. And then Gil gets really upset, saying, "Get this fucking thing off my neck!" And then Riddler just loses it, saying, "You deserve to be dead for what you did." And the guy finally shuts up, and he's like, "I'm giving you a chance. No one ever gave me a chance." And Batman kind of takes note of that, and he says, "I'm here to unmask the truth of this cesspool you call a city." And Batman's like, "Unmask." And he's like, "Yeah, we'll do it together, okay? This involves you too. You're a part of this." He's like, "How am I a part of this?" He's like, "You'll see." And then Gordon and the police chief and everybody's outside. They're live streaming this on the news. And they're wondering what the hell's going to happen. And the Riddler says, "I'm going to give you 3 riddles to solve. And if you solve them, I'll let you go. If I'll give you the combination to get the collar bomb off, and not, I'm going to blow you up." And so Coulson doesn't really want to do it. And he gets up to walk away. And then the timer starts counting. And he's like, riddle number 1, it could be cruel, poetic, or blind, or the riddle about justice. It could be cruel, poetic, or blind, but when it's denied, it's in violence you may find. And Coulson's an idiot. He can't solve this thing. And Bruce is just very calmly standing there. He's like,
justice.
The answer is justice. He's like, justice? He's like, yes. He's like, riddle number 2. Since your justice is he says, what's the second thing he says? It's the...
if you're something about how much does it cost? And he's like, is it bribes?
If you are justice, please do not lie. What is the price for your blind eye? And Batman's like, bribes. And he's like, oh, bribes? He's like, no, he wants to know how much it costs. And I thought,
How much?
yeah, and he's not even going to answer the question. He's like, dude, you have a bomb around your neck. Answer the damn question. So then he says, $10,000 a month to not prosecute certain cases. And Batman's like, which cases? And he's like, you didn't ask me that, okay? And I'm like, oh, okay, that's telling. So then he says, riddle number 3, since your justice is so select, please tell us the vermin you're paid to protect. And Batman's like, he wants to know about the informant in the Maroni case. He's like, how do you know about that? And he's like, answer it. But Coulson won't, because he says that, you know, there's too many people out there watching. This is so much bigger you can never imagine. I'm a dead man walking. If I tell you who that is, they're going to kill me and my family anyway. And the Riddler counts down the final moments, and then the bomb goes off, which admittedly should have hurt, if not maimed, Batman, because it's literally a bomb going off.
Batman doesn't get hurt in this movie, and that's part of the reason why I'm not. Maybe it's a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, so he gets blown away, and it cuts to the police station where Bruce wakes up, and only now does somebody decide they're going to take the cowl off. Batman reacts to that and starts fighting him, and he gets mad at the police chief and suggests that he's the one who Coulson was afraid of, that he'd rather die than talk, and the chief's like, oh, you got a lot of balls, and Gordon just gets in Batman's face, and the chief's like, I've got you on assaulting an officer. He's like, you've got me on assaulting 3, and Gordon just shoves him against the cage, telling him that this isn't the way to do this. And then
It's a really good scene.
It is, and Batman's like really taken aback and upset. He's like, you too now? And he brokers a few minutes alone for the chief. So they're talking alone about what they're going to do, and Batman sees Kenzie. He's like, yeah, I broke that guy's nose at the Penguin's lounge. And Gordon's like, he moonlights for the Penguin? And he's like, or he moonlights as a cop. And that's when Gordon suggests how he can escape. And he tells him how to get to the roof. He says, well, maybe you punch me in the face and take my keys, and that's how you get out of here. So they do that. And you have all the police chasing him as he's racing towards the roof. He uses his cling wire to get up to the top. And eventually he pulls his suit up, which allows it to turn into like a glider thing. And you have admittedly some really bad shot of him when he jumps off the roof, and you're seeing like the close up, and it's clearly like a cheap back projection type job, green screen bit. So he glides all the way down, it hits an overpass bridge and lands on a bus and tumbles off the bus onto the street. And then he kind of crawls away, stumbling into an alley. And then we cut to the bat signal again, which I'm not exactly sure where this bat signal is. It's not at the police station. It's somewhere else.
No, but I really like it. I like it.
It's like this really nice platform on this like unfinished building. And Gordon's like, you could have pulled that punch, man. He's like, I did.
I did.
And,
I love that part, by the way.
Yeah, and so they're still trying to figure out, well, who's the rat with the wing? Who's the informant? And they said, well, a rat with
Your
wings.
mom.
Penguins have rings too. And they're like, oh, you think the Penguin maybe got into some trouble and working a deal was his only way out? And they're like, well, maybe. So they decided to go after the Penguin. And we cut to them at the Iceberg Lounge. They're kind of spying on them. They follow them down to the docks. They see they got these duffel bags. They're doing a drops deal. And the situation gets complicated when Catwoman shows up and starts ripping them off. And Batman has to intervene but it seems like Batman's intervention is what kind of drew their attention. And you have Penguin walking out there with his machine gun. He's like, hey, vengeance, shooting at him. And Catwoman's like getting scared. And she's seen that her friend is dead in the back of one of the duffel bags in Mackenzie's car. And Batman kind of disappears for a bit. She's wondering what's going on. She's scared. Seems like Penguin's about to discover her. And then you have the moment that we've all been waiting for. And you hear the Batmobile being revved up. This scene alone got the film its Oscar nomination for sound, I'm pretty sure. And it's like a hot rod crossed with like a really garage-based like car with a huge engine on it. It revs up, the flames shooting out.
Sounds so
and
good, dude.
Penguin's like, Mackenzie, get the money. And he jumps in his car and takes off with the money.
Wait. One thing I would like to say is, remember in The Dark Knight when they show the LED or like the screen in the Batmobile, and it had obviously been switched to intimidate mode.
Right.
And that's what we were told.
Yeah.
But in the Batman didn't need the subtitle for it. I was intimidated. It was incredible. The Batmobile in this movie is
It was like
awesome.
a 70s muscle car.
Well, and they also show earlier in the movie him putting it together.
Yeah.
Say what you will about this Bruce Wayne, but he is motivated.
Yeah, it's very much he's I like how he's built. It's not a high tech car. It's like a garage chop shop type thing that he's done. And so he's revving it up, and Penguin's like, Mackenzie, get the money, and they throw it into his car. Penguin takes off. The Batmobile takes off in pursuit, and then Catwoman takes off with one of the duffel bags of money. And that's where we see get into this really great chase, which I love how they're filming it. Like the camera's locked in place, but sometimes hugging the sides of the cars, or you're seeing the rain and cutting around. And I admit I didn't. Part of the scene that bugs me is I didn't feel in the story there was enough urgency for it to justify Batman chasing him this hard on a freeway with a bunch of civilians and
but it looked
causing
cool.
a series of explosions that are getting a bunch of people killed. Probably it's like, really? I mean, you know where the Penguin's going. He's just going to go back to the iceberg lounge to try and hide out. It's like you need a.
But it looked cool.
I know it looks cool. I just thought it was because there's no way you could say that nobody got killed in this car chase.
No. It was gratuitous, but
it was a really awesome scene. The way it's shot, and Penguin like constantly taunting him the whole way, driving in the opposite direction of traffic, weaving in. And as our friend Todd Michael said, he knew when the cars started crashing. He's like, "Dos Ex Machina ramp, Dos Ex Machina ramp, it's coming." And then sure enough, you had a truck, and the ramp spools out, and he revs up and jumps over it. And it takes him a while to come through the flames because at first Penguin is thrilled. He's like, "Oh, I got you, motherfucker, I got you." And then you see the Batmobile burst through the flames. He's like, "Oh, shit." And then he just rams into him so hard that it flips Penguin's car and crashes it to the point that this guy should have broken bones and everything. The airbag doesn't even deploy, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, there are lots of times when all of these characters should be dead in this movie.
And so the car's upside down, and you have that big moment with the tension and the music as Batman is walking towards him, and the camera eventually rolls around, and he pulls Penguin out, and they takes him down to some place. I guess it's near the docks or something, and they got him tied up, and they're interrogating him about the rat, and both he and Gordon are spooling their theory to him that he got in trouble and had to make a deal. And Penguin's like, "Oh man, you're still a hell of a duet here. Good cop, batshit cop." And he's like, "There's one problem with your little theory. I ain't no goddamn rat. You have any idea what Falcone would do to me if he heard this kind of talk?" And they're like, "Oh, you don't like rats? Well, look what they did to my partner's face." And he's
"What are you showing me?
What
is that?"
Like, "You're not El Rata Alada."
That shit cop.
Yeah, he's like, "What? You're not El Rata Alada? The rats in the maze." He's like, "What? El Rata Alada?" And Gordon's like, "Yeah, what do you know about it?" He's like, "Yeah, it's the worst Spanish I ever heard. It's La Rata." It's like, wait, is this brother stupid or something? World's greatest detectives. Am I the only one who knows the difference between L and La, fellas? And then Gordon's like, "Do me a favor, shithead, shut your mouth." And he just turns to Batman and all quietly says, "Do you think he made a mistake?" And Batman's like, "He doesn't make mistakes." And he thinks about it, and he's like, and then he realizes it, and it's another juvenile joke, URL, and he types it in on his laptop, goes to rataalada.com, a real promotional website.
If I may pause here.
Yeah, please.
What was that?
Going back to the car chase, this is the difference between the Batman movies and the comics. Because in the comics, you don't get that high octane energy reading Batman chasing down the freeway or within the city with his Batmobile. There's nothing really exciting there. You're just wanting to see him getting from point A to point B, or whatever comic book artist's interpretation of the Batmobile is going to be like. I think the car chases are solely exclusive to the Batman movies. Because the comics depend basically on the bombastic and the boom, pow, wham, bam. But the movies, it feels like there's an obligation to have, okay, how good is your car chase going to be?
Right.
Well, and I would say that this is one of the best.
Oh, yeah, it's very
probably
good.
the best in a comic book movie, for sure.
Yeah.
If we put in a qualifier in a comic book movie, probably the best ever.
Yep.
Yeah, so he types in, so he sees that the website is like a site where you can actually talk to the Riddler. They're typing back and forth, and Riddler's like, "Have you found him yet?" And he's like, "That depends. Is a penguin a rat with wings?" And Riddler's like, "Interesting, but I'm going to need you to give you another clue. And he's like, "About my next victim." And Batman's like, "Victim? Is he dead yet?" And he's like, "No, but he will be soon. I'll give you." He's the biggest piece of the puzzle yet. And then he spills out a Riddler that I grew up as a seed, tough as a weed, in a mansion in a slum. And he's like, and Gordon's like, "What? You got any ideas?" And Bruce is like, "Yeah, he's an orphan." And he types that in, and he's like, "Are you an orphan?" And the Riddler just types back, "Goodbye." He doesn't confirm or not. Like, it's a sore subject for him.
Seems to be like the password for this, not the series, but the movie. orphan, right?
Yeah, because they're both orphans, and that's
Yeah,
another bit of
like a running. Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Right, and so I like that the fact that the Riddler doesn't confirm whether he's an orphan is like it's not him being careful not to give himself away. It's a sore spot for him, and he doesn't want to get into it.
Right.
And so Gordon's like, well, what does this riddle mean? Okay, he's an orphan. What does he mean, mansion of slum? He's like, he's talking about the Wayne Manor that got donated to be an orphanage in the slums. And he's like, come on, let's go. And I love that they just leave Penguin there. And because his ankles and his wrists are tied in the silhouette, he looks like he's waddling like a penguin. He's like, you can't leave me here, fellas, you son of a bitch. And I'm thinking they could probably arrest
up, bitches.
They could arrest him on traffic violations or whatever, but now they're just going to leave him there. So they take off to the orphanage, which is completely run down and abandoned. They go inside and they see fresh green paint on the wall with arrows leading them in, and they're like, oh, so they're following the trail. They come upon a drop head and they see a bunch of them in there, and it's like really creepy horror type vibes. It gave me the sense of, the gluttony victim in Seven, the inside of his danky house, like darkened out apartment with the greases, like kind of reminded me of that, like really icky.
Greasy,
I don't want to be here.
Ugly and dirty.
Yeah, and on these Terra double doors it says back to where it all began. So they go inside, and the overhead projector is already playing on a screen Thomas Wayne's speech that he gave at the orphanage to announce his bid for mayor and the creation of the renewal fund. And I'm guessing the Riddler either was just there and started the projector himself, as opposed to trusting one of the dropheads to do it for him, or maybe he did it remotely somehow, because it's like, somebody had to turn that, because that's, again, even on my first viewing, as the detective in me is like, somebody just turned on that projector.
Yeah.
Watch the message anytime.
I figured it was drop heads, like the minions or whatever, but I have no idea. They never show it. Yeah.
It's very likely that wherever Batman was communicating with him, he was probably already at the mansion, and the moment he said goodbye, he left the mansion.
Right, it's probably true. Yeah, like on a timer or something. Because so they're watching the message, and Gordon's shining his flashlight around, and he sees that sins of the father is spray painted on the wall, and Batman's like, "We'll be visited upon the sun. We'll be visited upon the sun." And Gordon's like, "Geez, his next victim is Bruce Wayne." And strangely, Gordon doesn't get out his phone or anything right then to try and be like, "Oh, we gotta stop this."
Let's protect the kid.
Yeah, he's not even thinking about it. It's like, oh, Bruce Wayne. And he turns and Batman's already gone. And he's speeding in the Batmobile to try and race back to Wayne Manor. And they do this great thing where they cut back and forth between this and Alfred going through the day's mail. Mm-hmm. And Batman's calling, waiting on the phone. And Dory answers eventually. And we're seeing Alfred he sees the parcel. And he can tell there's something off about it. For Bruce Wayne, for your eyes only. And he opens it anyway. Pulls out the thread that says, for the Batman. And it's like, well, Alfred, you've been following this investigation too, and it says fireproof, and it takes him a while to figure it out. That he throws it, the bomb goes off, and that's when Dory says that, oh, it's already happened about an hour ago, and they reveal it when the Batmobile comes out from under the bridge, and you see the fire at Wayne Manor. And I like that this is a nod to Batman Forever, because in that movie, the Riddler hand delivered something straight to Wayne Manor as well, and in this case, he's mailing something there instead of breaking in, probably because Wayne Tower being all the way at the top would be a lot more difficult to break in and get out again, I guess. And so you're on mute, Scott. You're on mute, Scott. We can't hear you. You're muted.
I understand that, and I appreciate you for asking me to reveal my voice. And this is one of the things that I have wrong with this movie, is that I wish I got more of a connection from Bruce and Alfred. And so when Alfred is put in danger, while I do agree with you in terms of the Batman Forever, I don't care about Alfred being hurt, because neither does Bruce.
That's a bit of a sticking point, but it didn't rise to the level of, oh my god.
I was offended. I was offended with the relationship.
Well, yeah.
Right, but Bruce you could tell that Bruce genuinely cared, though. He was racing home as fast as he could and getting really trying to save him.
But you don't get that until Alfred is hurt.
Well, that happens with a lot of real relationships. You have fights and people with somebody, and it's not until something really bad happens that it's like, he's kind of snapping out of it, because now he realizes that everything Alfred's been saying is coming to pass.
Right.
Yeah, like
It
Alfred says, this is
solidifies
just-
that relationship, or makes you think about, oh my God, or your own mortality.
like he
and
says, if this
You
continues,
don't always get, or no, you
you don't always
know
get
what
what you want.
No, but you don't know what you have. You don't know what you haven't. You pave paradise and you put up a parking lot.
Hey, paradise, put up a
So
parking
Batman,
lot.
Bruce gets back, and the fire chief is telling him that it was a C4 explosive meant for you, and there was this, and he shows him the Batman card, and it's like a dark green card with 2 yellow eyes, and opens it, and he says, "See you in hell." And this is where, so Batman then Bruce then goes to the hospital, and the nurse tells him that, oh, he's stable, but he's still in critical condition. He then goes back to Wayne Manor, and he's like pissed off. He's taken off his shirt. He's all buff, and he's spray painted all the clues on the ground in the different directions about the victims and the sins of the father and the connection, the renewal program. And he's finally putting his thinking cap on, wondering what the hell this is. He digs through the old files on the renewal program, trying to figure out what it is. And he's sitting down a bit despondent because he can't figure it out. And that's when Catwoman chimes in from the
contact lens.
Yeah, the contact lens camera, and she has a piece of
Yeah, that's awesome.
Where are you? And she's like, are you there, Bruce? He's like, yeah. Or are you there, Batman? She's like, yeah, we need to talk. Where can we meet? And so he presumably tells her. We cut to we cut to the top the bat signal, and she's really upset and venting about the fact that Mackenzie probably is the one who killed Annika, because they haven't had a chance to talk since the Batmobile since he took off in the whole Batmobile chase. And she's like, I need your help to get this guy. Will you help me get him? And he's kind of pushing back on it. Batman's being really interrogative and dismissive and arrogant. Like, how was it worth it? She's like, what, compromising yourself for money? And she's like, oh, obviously, I don't know who you are, but obviously you grew up rich. And saying that, and that's
but come on. I think that Bruce is very honest with his relationship with Selina throughout the entire film, simply and with their characterization, because I don't know if it's before this or maybe it's after this. He does say, if you do that, you'll fight me.
I think he's honest too. I don't think
he is saying, do not be a criminal. If you want justice, I'm on your side. But if you want to fucking execute people,
well, he says that later when she kidnaps Mackenzie. But in this particular scene, he's simply being very dismissive and arrogant about the fact, oh, you did this for money and blah blah blah. And she's like, well, I don't know who you are, but obviously you.
Well, no, at this point, I think that he's calling her a whore.
Well, he's calling her out for getting, doing all of this for the money. And that's where she makes the line about, all the city cares about are the white privileged assholes like the mayor, the DA, and all these people.
Woke!
She's saying that, but that works for her character, given her character's backstory.
That wasn't woke.
Yeah, it wasn't.
No, bunch of white privileged assholes. It had nothing to do with the fact that Selina Kyle didn't know who Bruce Wayne was. It had nothing to do with that. It doesn't matter what level of life you come from. You are against injustice. That's not what that was about.
Scott,
but she is correct that the direct correlation, the connection she's making
over you.
The connection she's making is correct, because obviously, given her circumstances, it's not just money for the sake of having money. Like, she's clearly in need of it, and she's been screwed over by this guy who's her father. And granted, she's about to tell Batman that, and he obviously doesn't understand that because he did grow up rich. Something that the Riddler eventually harps on later as well.
Her dad's not white.
You can claim privilege, but I mean, you can claim privilege in any kind of context.
Yeah.
Okay,
whatever. Don't worry about it. We're talking about a Batman movie. Chill.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, I will.
Right, but so that's where she's going with it, and then Batman doesn't want to hear it, and so she's like pushing him back and says, "Well,
I don't want to hear it either."
And she's like, "Well, what do you mean about it?" She's like, "Well, the Riddler's latest. It's all about the Waynes." And she's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And you see his eyes are kind of recoiling, and he's trying to hide it, but he's not doing a very good job. But she's still worked up that she doesn't notice his reaction. And then he finally gets back. He's like, "What is it? What does Falcone have on you? What is this about?" And then she says, "Because he's my father." And that she explains that her mom, a waitress,
like Darth Vader.
No, it wasn't that, but it was still a gut punch, a little bit for me.
It was a
like,
weird thing. Like when they told me that Selena Kyle's dad was that guy, I was like, no.
I said the same thing. I'm like, no, this
Yeah,
never happened in the comics. And maybe
Well,
did.
it wasn't even a
I don't
matter of the
remember it,
comics. It was,
but I didn't remember it, and I'm like, no. But you know what? As it plays, and we'll let Catherine continue.
Yeah, so
But as it plays, it makes sense.
yeah, well, it is taken from the comics, but only a specific era of the comic, of a specific run,
which one?
like the When in Rome storyline.
Oh, yes.
The Tom King stuff.
No, this is When in Rome, like back in the late '90s.
Oh, yeah.
Like with the Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale run.
I never read. I didn't read that stuff.
Back
Yeah,
in
that's
the
right.
That's why
Jeffries.
I didn't understand. I'm like, that's why it was a shock to me. I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah, that
Well,
was
I
yeah.
mentioned.
directly from yeah, because they tease it in the long.
Oh,
Hall.
come on. It's not a pop quiz. We're having fun. Welcome to the
Yeah,
pub.
yeah, it's fine.
But that's where it's taken from. And so he explains that her mom was a waitress there, and that she would used to bring her there because she didn't have a daycare or anything to leave her at. And so
Mhm.
when they were after her mom died or was killed really by Falcone, and the orphanage, CPS came to pick her up, and Falcone didn't say a word. So she's like, he owes me that money, and Batman apologizes, and and then she kind of leaves, just a bit distraught. And then we cut back to the Batcave where Batman is now Bruce is now watching the Riddler's latest, where he unveils the conspiracy that Martha was in Arkham in this timeline, and Riddler's making the point that the Waynes and the Arkhams are Gotham's founding families, and that Martha's mother committed a murder
Your
suicide.
mother's name was Arkham,
Hmm?
or something like that. How did that work?
That it's not from the Martha thing in the comics, but I believe, if Ernesto can correct me on this, some of this is related to. Isn't this backstory with the Arkhams kind of related to the Jeremiah Arkham thing from the games?
Well, the Arkham's history with Gotham City goes back, they're the founding fathers, they're the founding families of Gotham, so that is comics accurate. It depends on the interpretation of how you want to use the history of the Arkhams and the Waynes, as, being the first family of the city back then. It's mentioned in Batman versus Superman, where the
It
Waynes
does
were the
make
hunters.
Gotham City quite sinister.
And it goes into the situation of, I don't remember, was she a Martha Arkham in this movie, or is it just that she was committed in Arkham?
Well, I get
She was
somebody donated money
Hang
to
on,
make
hang
Arkham
on,
in the
hang
first
on,
place,
hang
right?
on,
So
hang
it's
on.
some
No, we can't hang on. This is civic duty.
she was an Arkham. That's the thing. Her parents were the Arkhams. The mom killed the husband and then herself in a murder suicide. The family covered it up, which the Riddler is upset about because they used their power and influence to cover this up while Martha was in institutions or in and out of institutions her whole life. And I think the implication...
7 out of 10. This movie is a 7 out of 10.
So the implication is that...
You gave it a 10 earlier, dumbass.
Arkham,
I know, and the score is dropping.
That was created by Thomas Wayne to have better institutions than the one that his wife was put in, and that had Thomas not been murdered, Arkham would have turned out to be an actually good place and not turned into what it is. And so the Riddler's upset about that, and he says that this crusading reporter named Elliot.
Oh, Elliot Wayne or Elliot
Page.
His last name's Elliot. I can't remember his first
Elliot Page.
But he's explaining that this reporter, which is an allusion to Hush, obviously, because his name's Elliot.
Yes.
He found out the truth, was going to expose it, and that the Riddler accuses Thomas Wayne of turning into Carmine Falcone to have this guy murdered. And with the whole Hush money, you have the Hush written on the screen, and you can tell the Riddler, they did draw inspiration from his costume with Hush a little bit. It gives you that type of that light type of vibe.
Totally, yeah.
And so the Riddler's saying that, Gotham's founding families are corrupt as fuck, and that we need to do something about that whole thing. And Bruce is just completely beside himself about this. So he goes back to the Iceberg Lounge, knocks on the door. The twins answer, and he's like, "You know who I am?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so they let him in to see Falcone.
If I
Yeah.
may, before we continue further, since I haven't been able to get this point across, it has been alluded in the comics and very recently in Volume 3 of Batman Earth 1 that Martha Wayne has been committed into Arkham, and there is a correlation into her mental health and Bruce Wayne's, tying him into being Batman.
Right.
That he does have that insanity. So whether she's in Arkham or not, it is a very damning connection in this movie that is for the first time being adapted of Bruce's psychology is tied very directly to his mother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so
most people just gloss over it. They just don't really make the connection, period. They just think, oh, his mom was crazy, but they never really make the connection into, oh, it's a disease that he inherited, hence why he's Batman.
But here's the thing: is that I don't like that introduction of Bruce Wayne into the lore. Like, I don't like the idea that Martha was a crazy person.
I don't either, and I don't like that somehow
It bothers me that there is an inherited insanity.
So that doesn't.
I don't like that.
Yeah. So if your mom is crazy, you're crazy. I don't like that either. So
My mom's crazy, so am I.
it's crazy.
She is
Well, there is
crazy hot, and so am I.
Or there is a diagnosis there, and it stands to reason that that it could affect him as well.
No, I know, but I think that when it comes to this movie in particular,
I
Batman,
think Batman works better with PTSD than some kind of weird.
But we are talking
bipolar
about
nonsense.
this movie. We are talking about everything that's being
Right.
presented in this movie. So when you
I think that's kind of the implication is that she went to the institutions because she had PTSD over the murder suicide that her mom committed.
I don't like that.
No.
I
actually
kind of
like
want
that.
Martha to
Yeah.
be pure.
That makes sense.
But and that's the thing, is that I think that my problem with this movie overall, it's a 10 out of 10 Batman movie. But my problem with it is that there is no joy in this movie. And part of the thing about being a Batman movie is that if you want a perfect Batman movie, there can't be any joy.
I still don't know.
What is your expectation of a joyful Batman movie?
I want someone who is having fun being Batman.
Oh, you don't think you had fun playing that role?
No.
Yeah.
I think that man was a crazy person who was beating the hell out of his own pain.
You just proved my point, Scott.
Well, congratulations. We're on the same side.
You're unhappy over an interpretation of Martha Wayne, yet you're proving the point exactly.
Well, it's not an arm wrestle, man. What do you got?
Would you like me to bring up the fact that at some point Tom King wrote that Batman considers suicide after his parents died?
Well,
It's
from
not
what
a
I understand,
competition, TV Dad.
Yeah, man. Like, there are so many psychological profiles of Bruce Wayne that I can acknowledge most of them.
That's part of the Hush storyline, right?
But there is something that I want from a Batman story. And I would.
That is another thing that's taken from the Hush story, is that it's not only that his mother survived because of Thomas, but his mom was a bit, nutty. He became her caregiver. She just kind of was a bit, her kind of mental illness thing also was something that drove Tommy up the wall, that he had to be stuck dealing with that. And so they're doing those kind of Hush parallels there, which is why I don't think they'd introduce Hush at a later date into this franchise. But
right.
Yeah.
So Bruce goes to Falcone to find out the truth, and Falcone asks everybody else to leave to give us a minute, and Penguin's like, "Hey, Slick," and so they go outside, and Bruce is like, "Is it true?" He's like, "What, that reporter business?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, your dad, I did a favor for him, and he asked me to put the fear of God into this guy because the election was coming up, and he had some embarrassing information about your mom. So, yeah, I put some fear into him, but you don't need to feel bad about it because this guy was on Maroni's payroll anyway, and Maroni was afraid that after your father saved my life, if he won the election, then I'd have your father would be in my, or I would be in my pocket, and he didn't like that. He's like, wait, so Maroni put him up to killing him? He's like, well, I don't know it for a fact, but it certainly looked that way to me. And Bruce just eats this up and doesn't even question it. And therefore, the implication is that the Maronis not only killed, that the Maronis killed the Waynes, so that and the reports of this would go away. And so Bruce is all upset, and he goes back to see Alfred. And right as Alfred's waking up, he's just, "You've lied to me my whole life." And he's like, "I went to see Carmine Falcone. He told me what my father did. I grew up believing he was a good man." And Alfred's like, and I love that Alfred's
It's so convoluted.
Yeah.
It's so convoluted.
It's not that convoluted.
It is very convoluted.
Easy to follow.
And so Alfred's finally had enough of Bruce's bullshit, and he just sternly tells him he was a good man. And he tells him the truth, that it wasn't about protecting his image. It was about protecting Martha's privacy, and that he didn't ask him to kill this guy, and that he never had, he was too naive. He was so caught up in the emotion of this potentially coming out that he just went to Falcone for help. And so once the murder happened, he got cold feet and was going to turn themselves into the police. And he says that's when the murder happened. And he's like, wait, and Bruce is like, so Falcone did it? He's like, maybe, or was this some thug on a street? I don't really know, and I've tried for years to find out, but the truth is, I don't know, and you needed a father, and I was there for you. And Bruce finally has that connection with Alfred and appreciation she should have had, and then it's interrupted when he sees the bat signal turned on. And he races there and finds that Gordon is also there, and it's like, I thought that was you. He's like, oh, I thought it was you. So they go up the elevator, and they see Catwoman beating the shit out of Kenzie.
And that was awesome. It was awesome to see Catwoman turn on the bat signal.
Yeah. And Mackenzie's like, Gordon, she's got my gun. And they're freaking out. And she says, look, she called me. I can prove it. And he had my cell phone. So she tosses her cell phone to Batman, having queued up the audio message. And apparently Annika was secretly recording the audio of her last moments alive, where Falcone asked her what she knew about the whole thing with the case on Maroni, because of course the mayor was also getting high as a kite inside the club and saying things he shouldn't have. And so she tells him the truth that, the mayor said all of this and blah, 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 that you had some drops thing, that you gave some information.
Yada, yada, yada.
And then you hear him strangling her to death. And I love at that moment, Gordon kind of gives Mackenzie this look, because Mackenzie's on the tape there as well. Because again, Gordon's been a bit naive as to who's on the take and who isn't. So he's kind of looking at him really sternly. And then Batman's like, oh, so you all work for...
Good moment to mention how good Jeffrey Wright is as...
great role.
So good, dude.
And they're like, oh, so you all work for Falcone, or Falcone all works for you. And he's like, no, it's the other way around. We all work for him. And like, once the Waynes were murdered, it's like a huge fund with no oversight. And, everybody went in. The mayor, the DA, the Maronis, the Falcone. But Falcone wanted more. So we orchestrated a play to take down Maroni. And it's like, you think the election matters? Everybody whose careers were made on that case were installed as Falcone's puppets. He runs the city. And I love, again, what Robert Pattinson is doing with his eyes when he's talking about what happened with how the renewal program has been funding this entire thing. And you see that look of like shock and a bit of like a hint of guilt, because, he hasn't been paying attention to this shit, which he should have been. Yeah. And so Catwoman's like, okay, that's it. Let's kill this guy. And she pulls the gun out, and Batman just swipes the gun out of her hand. And she's like, no, we're going to deal with it, but not that way. Otherwise, you're no better than he is. And she's like, you heard what he said. He owns half the city. We can't deal with this. And he's like, no, we're not. We're not going to do this. And so she's like, oh, fine. And she kind of pretends to concede defeat and puts her leg like up, like sensibly all up against Mackenzie. She's like, you don't have to worry about my lives or how dangerous it is, honey. I got 9 of them. And she kicks Mackenzie off the edge, and she takes that opportunity to jump off, grabbing onto these cables, like under construction. So she slides down the cable while Batman and Gordon. Yeah, well, I'm finishing explaining it. I'm not going to let you derail it every time.
No, but I have to derail it every time. It's part of the Fantasmagorium. So Catwoman kicks the dude, the dirty cop, off of the thing. And what does Batman do? Rescues him. He is not going to die. One of my favorite things about this movie is that Batman is saving people. And no matter how minor they happen to be. But no, you're not going to die. Anyway, you were saying, Kat.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining. So, so he saves them. She takes off, and Gordon's like, what are we going to do about this? And he's like, if she goes there, she's gonna die and she's gonna kill him. And she's like, yeah, well, don't worry, we're gonna do what Riddler said. We're gonna bring the rat into the light. It's his game now. And so he gives Gordon the phone, and so Gordon goes to make that public while Batman takes off to the Iceberg Lounge. And this time he just knocks on the front door, waits for the twins to step outside to see what's going on, and then he runs inside, shuts the door, beats a guy up, changes into his outfit in the dark, and is getting ready to pull the circuit breakers. Meanwhile, Selina gets access to Falcone's private suite by saying, I need to talk to him about Annika. And he's like, okay, honey, what's this about? And she says, oh, she's been missing, and she's putting on this whole thing where she's fake crying, and she's rummaging through her purse supposedly for a tissue, but we see that she's got a gun. But then a guy interrupts them, and he's like, and Falcone shouts at him, like, hey, I'm trying to do something here. He's like, sir, I'm sorry, but you're really going to want to see this. She's like, oh, I'll be right back. So he goes into the other room, and they see that the tape is already being played on the news, and they're like, oh, and he's like, the look on Falcone's face is just the oh shit look that he's like caught. And that's when Selina steps up behind him. She's like, hey, Dad. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, my mom was married Kyle, and she fires the gun just as Batman pulls the circuit breakers. The power's out. Batman starts racing through to try and get up there into the suite. And you have that great moment from the trailer where he's walking down the hall and everybody's shooting at him. And
I didn't like that.
Yeah, I didn't like the fact that the suit is that impervious to bullets, and that he's not even feeling the impact of, like, even if you try and suspend your disbelief that he's wearing like a ton of body armor for it, like you would.
You know what it reminded me of was, like, they wanted to Batman the moment from Rogue One with Darth Vader.
That's exactly what.
Oh yeah.
Shot as he's,
and it looks great, like, no argument. But it doesn't, like, there's no practical sense to it. Like, you ultimately made the hero invulnerable.
Right. And so
I didn't like it. I did not like that.
Falcone ends up knocking her to the ground, starts strangling her. She scratches his face, and he's strangling her even harder. He's like, you made me do this, and trying to put the blame on her. And then Batman I kind of wanted Batman to punch Falcone harder, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, me too.
He just, like, it's like one little lazy punch. I'm like, no, this is the guy who's been behind everything, and you're just gonna this one little punch. And she pulls up the gun, and she's like, he has to pay. He's like, but you don't have to pay with him. And
I like that one.
Yeah, and so he starts marching Falcone out, and you have this interesting music cue as he's marching him out of there. And Falcone just starts laughing at him, like as if this is going to make a difference. And Gordon's standing there at the exit holding up his baton, and the cuffs. He's like, oh, you think you're going to do something? You all work for me. And then he opens the doors, and you see all the cops there. He's like, well, we don't all work for you.
Well, but this is also, that was one of the moments where I was like, this is a Batman movie. Like, there is inspiration. GCPD.
Yeah, so he starts reading him his Miranda rights, and then Penguin steps out. He's like, enjoy your night at Blackgate, Carmine. It'll probably be your last. And he's like, what? He's like, you rat bastard, being a snitch. And that's when he insults him, calling him a gimp. And then Penguin's like, I'll spray paint your ass, and whips out a gun.
I'll eat your face in public.
He knocks him down they knock Penguin down on the pavement. You hear the gunshot, and Falcone falls down shot, and Penguin insists that he didn't shoot. And Batman looks back at Falcone as he's dying. And it takes him a while to piece it together that, like Riddler said, again, it's another juvenile type joke. It's not figuratively speaking, bring him into light. It's literal. And he looks up and sees the street light, and then he looks up in the window, and sure enough, there's the Riddler with the rifle. And I think it was Martinez who actually shouts, there he is, or whatever. And Batman's like, it's the Riddler. And then Gordon's like, surround the building, nobody gets out. And Batman runs up to the wall, shoots his Klingwine to repel himself up the wall, crashes into the window, bursts open the door, but the Riddler's already gone. And you see that he's got other traps there, and the cops all race inside, and they're looking around, piecing the thing together, and that's when they get a notice that somebody reported a guy coming down the fire escape, and he's sitting at the diner in the corner, and he's just sitting there doing nothing. And so then we have the great shot from the trailer of the SWAT team moving in as the Riddler's just sitting there at the counter, and they're all surrounding him, and Gordon pulls his gun on him. He's like, turn around, hands up, and he just kind of turns around lightly in the chair. He's like, I just ordered a slice of pumpkin pie. And I like how baby-faced he is. He's got this whole crop top like haircut. Got the glasses that are like the same as the Jim Carrey Edward Nigma glasses. And he's just sitting there acting all innocent, and they just slam him down. Martinez just slams it down on the table. They're frisking him, and they pull out 2 fake IDs, or potentially both fake, both of which are aliases that he's used in the comics. And like, which one is you? And he's like, I don't know, you tell me. And he starts laughing, and he sees Batman outside and smiles at him, and he's like, let's go, Pencil Neck, and they drag him away. And you see that in his espresso
If I
he
may.
made. Yeah.
There's this very kind of seedy moment at the diner where they're arresting him, and the camera is locked on his face, and you can see like 5 different contortioning happen with his face. He's like, feels like he's in pain. His eyes are bugging out. His mouth is wide open,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he smiles, and his eyes just take on this demonic look. And I kind of wonder if Paul Dano is a contortionist with his facial features, like a Jim Carrey, or is some visual effects is happening here, because he just went from innocent to I'm gonna fucking kill you in a span of 2 seconds.
I think that's a matter of performance.
Yeah.
I think that Paul Dano is Paul Dano is a brilliant actor.
Yeah, he just sells that. And so they take him away, and then we go back into the Riddler's apartment, and this is where they get into the whole Seven stuff. You see all the stuff papered on the wall that he's been obsessed with trying to figure out who Batman is. And it's kind of funny that he has the headline, "Who is Batman?" with a sketch, and then you have Bruce Wayne's picture like right next to it. It's like, and he's been following all this, and then Bruce pulls a folder off the shelf and is reading it, or a diary, and one of the cops is like, "Hey, Gordon, do you really believe in this chain of evidence?" And Gordon walks over, and he's like, he's wearing gloves, and Batman's like, "You should see this." And they read one of the passages they read is how he's talking about how empty and meaningless his life is, and that he saw this one word, renewal, and how he just really read a lot into that, and eventually how he was, and so it's like, he knows what his life needs to be now, exposing this and putting an end to it. And you just see all the other binders and folders on the wall, and it's like, oh geez, this is like John Doe all over again. And he's really a total nutcase, like the way he's been living. And they see that there's a cage in there and Gordon's like, "I don't think that rat likes you, man." He's like, "It's not a rat." And you see that it's a bat, and he pulls the card out of it, a red card that says "To the Batman," and he opens it, and it just says "My confession." And it's neat because the Riddler cards they're kind of juvenile. They try to allude to the Zodiac one with the chemistry one, where he says, don't want to find out, I feel it in my bones, you ache to know my name, but then I'll clue you in. And the Zodiac's case, the solution was, then why spoil the game? And the Batman, it's, then why spoil the chemistry? So they had all the kind of those type of cards going on. And Gordon's not really clear on what he means by my confession. He's like, what's he talking about? You already know he killed Mitchell. Like, what's this about? And they find the murder weapon for Mitchell. He's like, yeah, it's a murder weapon. He killed Mitchell with it. And I love Gordon's reaction too, to seeing that this is the Riddler's apartment, and how it's like right across from the Iceberg Lounge. Like, he's been here this whole time. Again, like incredulous. It's like, well, yeah, you already saw him shooting Falcone from the balcony, so of course he's been in here. And then Gordon gets a call. He's like, huh? He's like, right. And he turns to Batman. He's like, the Riddler's asking for you at Arkham. He's like, I think I'm his next victim, his last victim. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, I think this is all coming to an end, this whole Batman thing. And as he leaves, he says, you're a good cop. And it does imbue a sense of foreboding. And on my first viewing, because I was aware of the whole Seven parallels, I thought, I wonder if they're going to really pull like some really crazy plot twist. And instead, they don't really do that. He just goes to Arkham. They open like the little garage cage, and you see him sitting behind the glass. And Paul Dano, masterclass in acting, how he's just, on the one hand, super impressed by Batman, but on the other hand, he's just telling him, really bearing his soul to him, and how much pain he's feeling about Bruce Wayne, and the billionaire orphan, and everybody. It's like, I was there that day, the day Thomas Wayne announced his election bid and made all those promises. But then the next week he was dead, and everybody just forgot about us. No, they didn't want to talk about us. Let's talk about the billionaire. He's like, let's talk about the billionaire with the lying dead daddy. And he's like, orphan. Orphan. It's like, being an orphan isn't looking down on the park with all that money. And it's like, okay, here we go again. And it's like kind of with Selena, but this is a different, darker twist on it, where he's like, and the way he describes this orphanage that he's from, a friend of mine said, "What is this, like an orphanage from Romania in the Cold War?" Because he's like, "Oh yeah, every winter one of the babies dies because it's too cold. By 10, they're already a drop at numbing the pain." And it's like, okay,
It's in New Hampshire.
Exactly. It's a bit extreme.
They're already making iPhones
for Gotham, and so he goes on about that and saying that.
Well, come on. If you're gonna make a movie commentary, let's go.
Yeah, so he's impressed by the Batman, and he basically tells Batman, "You inspired me. All it takes is a little focused violence," and he's like, "You're crazy. You're out of your mind. You're just a lunatic who's just imagining all of this. It's in your head." And Riddler, I love Dano's acting here, where he's like, he doesn't totally break character. He's like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "What? Huh?" And he's like, "You're sick. This is all in your head." And then he just backs up and does that great thing where he just backs out of the light into the dark, and you see the light like coming off the rim of his glasses, like glowing in the dark, like like he's all scared. He's like, no, this is not how this was supposed to go.
Well, but this is the part that sold me on the Riddler.
Yeah, and it's great because you see Batman's reaction, and now he's seeing like, man, this guy really is crazy. And he's like, I had it all planned out. We were
No.
What?
Not that this is where the Riddler was crazy. This is where I found out what the Riddler wanted.
Well, yeah.
The Riddler wanted to say hello to Batman.
He and Batman are. He thinks Batman's going to be impressed with him because Batman asked him, "Why'd you send me all the cards?" He's like, "Well, because."
But it also.
Yeah, he's like, I told you we're in this together. He's like, we didn't do anything together. He's like, yeah, we did. I told you to bring the rat into the light. It's like, I'm not physical like you. It's like, yeah, I can jump somebody in the dark, but I can't like, that's not me. I'm all up here. You're there. He's like, no, this is all in your. And so the rejection is such a great moment where he just totally freaks out, and that's where he overplays his hand by revealing the final plan because he thinks the Batman's already figured it out. And
I do enjoy rejection. It's one of my favorite things.
And so he's really surprised that he hasn't figured it out. He's like, but the pieces were all there. He's like, oh man, you're really not as smart as I thought you were. And that's where Batman starts getting pissed off and just banging on the glass, saying, "What have you done? What have you done?" And
where's the trigger?
And Riddler just starts singing Ave Maria like they were as kids in the choir from the video. It's like a really great way to end the scene. And so Batman goes back to the crime scene, and Martinez is now the only person there. He's looking on his phone, and the election results show that Bella Real has won, which I don't know how that would even work, because it's like, well, if the mayor was killed, is there like somebody else who's automatically promoted to fill his seat that she's now automatically running against? I would think they would delay the election for that, but I guess not. So Martinez is kind of hopeful that she won the election, and there's a bunch of people gathered in Gotham Square celebrating it. And Martinez notices Batman sneaking back in there. He's like, "Hey, stop!" And he's like, "You're not supposed to be in here." And they're just rummaging. He's rummaging around in the stuff, and he pulls out the murder weapon again. And he's like, "Oh yeah, kind of weird that he killed him with a carpet tool." And then I just got a big laugh over the fact I got a big laugh over the fact that Batman just kind of looks at him and he shines the flashlight in his face like it's an interrogation. And he kind of Martinez recoils and he's like, "Yeah, my dad used to be a carpet tucker. It's a carpet tool." And then Batman talks about it.
I really liked that moment, that character moment, where it was just like Batman said, "What?" But he did it with a flashlight. And then the cop, Martinez, says, "Oh yeah, here you go, Batman. Here's some information. Apparently this is interesting to you."
Right.
Like, I like how people like Batman.
I thought it was a bit of a jump that just because he tells him it's a carpet tool that he figured out that he should rip up the carpet.
I was fine with it. Like, you know what? I yelled out loud and I was like, "You're fucking kidding me." And then I realized I was watching a Batman movie and I was like, "This is awesome."
So he pulls the carpet back and we see the map from the final card that said "My Confession," and it's a map of the city. And there's little blinking LED lights around the rim where the seawall is, and it says "A real change." And so because he's been posting a bunch of shit on the dark web, and that's something that the forensic guys had noticed, the last video is password protected. So Batman gets the idea that a real change must be the password, and it is. And Riddler's sitting on his bed with his mask on and everything, and he's telling people that, "Oh, hey
I'm
guys,
telling Oh, Cat, I have to interrupt one more time. This is where it becomes a Batman movie. Like, you have to watch the first little bit of this movie, and then it's going to turn into a Batman movie.
Yeah, and he's like, "Hey guys, thanks for the tips on detonators, and this community's been really great these past months and weeks." And he's like, "Well, we've now done everything. We've showed this city. We've unmasked it. It's corruption. It's perversion. But unmasking is not enough. Now it's time for retribution. Our day of judgment has finally come," which is something he alluded to in the first video that he sent in of killing the commissioner. And I love Martinez's reaction, like, "Detonators, what the hell?" And they're reading the comments on the side of this little video, and people are saying, "Don't forget your cling wrap. Rifles are good, 12 gauge." And the mask.
Oh, no.
Cold
There's
weather.
a whole Riddler army.
Yeah, it shows that he has 507 followers, but he's not following anybody. And he eventually says in the video that I parked 7 vans along the city seawall, and on the big night, they will go boom, and then bam, the vans start blowing up. Batman and Martinez look out the window, and they're seeing the seawall come down, the water starting to flood, and the Riddler's talking about how, there'll be no time, that it'll be coming so late that evacuation will not be possible. They'll all take refuge and scream and spend their last moments screaming, "Why us?" And now we've been saying "Why us?" our whole lives, and now they're going to spend their last moments saying "Why them?" And then Batman's like, "Call Gordon," and Martinez is like, yeah, I'm on it. And then when he calls him, he looks up and he sees that Batman's already gone. And then we cut to Selena on her motorcycle, and she's like trying to get out of town, but the cops are like, "You can't go that way, it's flooded." And everybody's gathering inside the Gotham Square Garden where Bella Real was going to give her victory speech. And I noticed that Mayor Mitchell's widow and son are actually there to support her, which I thought, wow, that was a quick turnaround. From your husband being murdered last week to now being in full support of Bella. And Gordon says that this place is not going to be suitable for. She's like, "Isn't this a shelter?" He's like, "Yeah, for a hurricane, but not for a flood." And she's like, "Well, I need to get out there and give a speech. These people, they need a leader right now." And he's kind of getting frustrated with her, but he's not like brave enough to tell her, to pull rank and say, "No, this isn't safe." So she goes out there anyway, and the way they're editing it, the Riddler's talking about how now after he's been arrested, it's time for you guys to step up. And we see all the Riddler goons showing up, hiding up in the rafters in the same outfits with the guns, and they're lining up with their bullets. And Bella actually sees it at one point, and they shoot her. Gordon runs out to save her, and then they start shooting almost indiscriminately into the crowd. And that's when all the explosions go off of the roof, which are pretty badass. And Batman just drops down in there and starts kicking ass. A really cool.
Are you talking about Gotham?
Yeah, and I also like all the.
I was just gonna say, it has good things, it's bad things, but I really like the fact that they took out all the bridges in the last season. Boom, 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 took out all the bridges, and no one could get in. So it was really an island unto itself. I think they did that way back in the comic book. I don't know the run, but it was awesome. I thought it was pretty cool.
They did it in year 0 too.
In what?
In zero.
Yeah, when he floods the city, and so So Batman comes down from the rafters and starts fighting these guys, and a lot of them are already hooked up on cables on the rafters, so they won't so Batman can safely push them off the edge, and they're not gonna die or anything. So he starts disarming them. Others start shooting him. He takes a double barrel shotgun blast to the chest, even. And Catwoman sees what's going on. Eventually, she's okay up there. The and after one of the Riddler guys knocks Batman off the scaffolding, and he's hanging on. And he's aiming the shotgun right at his forehead, and that's when Catwoman shows up and beats the guy out of the way. She's pulling Batman up as Gordon and the other cops are showing up to subdue the last of the Riddler foes. And then one of the goons just gets up and grabs Catwoman and shoves her down and starts trying to strangle her. And Batman, who's still super, injured, obviously blown away from the shotgun blast earlier, is lying there, and he has to take a shot of adrenaline, which some people thought it might be an allusion to the Venom from the Bane thing from the comics, because he takes that in there and immediately he just is total roid rage. He just gets up and starts beating the shit out of this guy. And Gordon finally runs up there and gets him to stop doing it. And Gordon pulls the guy's mask off. And he's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Me? I'm Vengeance." And Batman and looks at him and is like, "Oh shit." And that's when the flood waters break into the shelter, and everybody's flooded, and the lighting apparatus is still on, the power hasn't been cut yet, and it's dangling over everybody, threatening to electrocute everyone. And so Batman jumps over the scaffolding and grabs onto the cable and cuts it with the battering that's embedded in his chest. And because he has the anti-EMP or shock protection, he doesn't get electrocuted. This time it feels like he feels the impacts. When he's falling, he's not even moving. It's like he's been stunned, and he hits the water. Now you only have red flares going. And he initially, when he gets up, he offers his hand to the mayor, the new mayor, Bella. She kind of is afraid, and the mayor's son takes his hand instead, and he starts helping everybody out and leading them out with the torch.
Science, schmience, we have.
Oh, wait! Did you guys notice that the new mayor of Gotham City was going to be a black woman?
Okay.
Woke.
Oh, Jesus. And so.
Jesus. Nope.
No, it's not. And so.
What? I thought that's what woke was.
And so it's great. In the aftermath of the flood in the morning, everybody's now on the rooftop being rescued. Batman carries this woman to a stretcher, and she kind of almost reaches out for Batman as he's about to leave, like seeing him as hopeful. Yeah. And you see the parallel there, that this started on a Thursday night, Halloween, and it's ending at dawn on the 7th day. And that was the Riddler's, the great flood, the great Noah's flood, as he's washing away all the filth of the city. And now, but instead of the Riddler being the one being revered as he expected, it's instead Batman.
Very biblical.
Asylum, and we see the Riddler is looking out through his cell door, seeing the TV at the main hub, and he's just moaning and is upset that it's not working out. And the Joker kind of reaches out to him from the neighboring cell, saying, "Hey, don't be sad. You did so well." And you know what Gotham likes more than anything is a comeback story. And he's like, "Riddle me this. The less of them you have, the more they are worth." And Riddler's like, "A friend," which is also lifted straight from the comics. Then they start laughing together and getting along. And we then cut to Maria Kyle's gravestone in the cemetery, and Selina's there basically saying goodbye, and she tells Batman she's going to go to Bloodhaven and try and start over. She's like, "Come on, join me, and we'll go knock over some hedge fund types." And she's like, "The city is beyond saving." And he's like, "No, I got to stay." And she's bids him goodbye, and they take off in their motorcycles.
Who cares?
Yeah, and so they're riding their motorcycles, weaving in and out kind of thing through the cemetery and through the neighborhood.
That was weird. Like, you know what? When it was like, all right, we'll leave each other forever now. And then it shows them driving their motorcycles together. And it's like, so when you said you would separate forever?
Well, it's sort of like them simulating, like they're not going to have sex, but that's the closest you're going to get to that. So with the bikes, kind of, it's basically what it is.
Plus, it's like a mile and a half to get off that.
Oh, by the way, you guys should totally subscribe to my deep fake business.
And so they end up turning.
I got Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne doing it until the cows come.
They end up turning in separate directions on their bike, and he watches her in his rearview mirror as she takes off. And that's the end of the movie.
I actually really like the end of the movie. Yeah, a lot of people don't. I thought it was I thought it was poetic.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought the movie was really good. You see the commentaries there, the movies. It's a detective story for a change. That's what I really love about this. And they got
and I think we needed it after all of the origin story tell-alls and trilogies and all that bullshit. We needed a good detective story to reignite the.
Oh, no.
You know what? It's not without its faults.
What were you gonna say, Ernesto?
Oh, nothing. I'm just making an off-kilter comment. Continue.
What was your off-kilter? I would love to be off-kilter. No one's watching. Don't be embarrassed.
But you have to speak up. I can't hear shit.
Shut up.
Shut his fucking mouth. You might hear.
I'll smack you in the face.
I said continue. God damn it. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Jesus.
Sick and tired of your bullshit.
I'm tired of your bullshit.
Yeah. So I really like this movie. I like the way it's paced. I like the fact that it's a detective story. The whole set design is amazing, especially since they built most everything like from scratch. Like they did film a little on location, like for the cemetery and places like that, but for the most part, this is all built like on stage with a little bit of the volume being used, like for where the bat signal is. but yeah, I agree with Steve. I think they needed this to reignite the Batman mythos, and it just really works. And I'm looking forward to seeing the new iterations of some of these characters, like when the Riddler gets to be more Riddler-like, and Penguin and Batman and even Catwoman, because again, her whole thing was running a scam against Falcone, and now that she's done it, I wonder if she's gonna maybe strike out in Bloodhaven or feel lonely and decide to come back to Gotham. Like something's gonna happen there, so that'll be interesting to see. But I didn't have any because I admittedly didn't think too much of Matt Reeves before this movie. It's like, okay, he did the English language remake of Let the Right One In. He did the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy, which I admit was better than I thought it'd be, but it's still not like over. Like,
yeah, I'm not much of a fan of that, so I understand where you're kind of tepid.
Yeah, so I didn't really have much thoughts on when they said Matt Reeves, and so I was pleasantly surprised when I had first seen that trailer that they dropped at DC Fandom way back in August 2020. I'm like, damn, this looks really like something else. And again, like if The Dark Knight is Heat, this is Seven. And again, I think it's copying it to a fault, which is why I would have to give it 9 Batarangs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not writing this down right now.
All right. What do you give it, Steve, on Batarang scale?
9.5.
Okay. Ernesto?
8.5.
8.5. Scott?
8.5.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I said, I think I liked it better than everybody else, but this was my Batman movie. I've been wanting this kind of Batman movie for a long time, and I got it. So,
well, that's why you're gay,
and that's why I'm gay, and that's probably why I scored a little higher than maybe it deserves. But I really like this movie. It's a really good movie, and I can't wait to see the other installments. And
yeah,
if they can execute the show
but
on
Steve,
this kind of par, we'll see. We'll see.
Steve, this is a movie that if what you're telling me, you and Kat are telling me is true, it means that I'm going to look back at this movie as the beginning of the best Batman trilogy ever.
Well, you have to remember when we were telling you should watch this, you were like, nope.
I noped the fuck out of this. Totes.
So,
yeah.
I'm glad you know.
This is good. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's a good movie, and it's a good Batman movie.
I do have another question about that, Scott. You did tell me in a voice clip that your perception of the Riddler before you saw the movie was different from the reality. What part of it made it click for you eventually that you were going to be on board with this, even though it's still not your favorite type of Riddler? Like what about it was different? What about the reality of what it is was different from your perception of it?
I think it was a good characterization of the Riddler, where the Riddler wanted to be friends with Batman. And there is something like there wasn't a sense of superiority. And it was like when the Riddler goes all like, no, this is not how this was supposed to go.
Yeah.
Like this was Ed trying to be friends. Even
in his mind,
you know what? One of my favorite things in this movie is when Edward Nygma, is that his name in the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great.
Nashton.
Well, I'm still going to stick with Nygma. So when Edward Nygma is sitting there and he's like, Bruce Wayne, let me tell you all the things about Bruce Wayne, Batman. And then when it's revealed that Eddie does not know. He does not know.
No.
Oh, right. They tease you with that, thinking that he might know who he is. They did that in the trailer,
He
too.
doesn't know, but he alludes.
He's just bitching about Bruce. And then finally, and this is the most incredible part of the movie, is when Batman is like, please.
Well, that's great.
You don't even know who I am.
Well, that was the thing, is he seemed really scared at first because he keeps saying Bruce Wayne, and he looks over at the security camera and is kind of afraid that is it recording the audio, like what's going on, and then he kind of relaxes a bit when he finds out that he doesn't actually know. But I like how that those three parallels there. That Riddler, Catwoman, and Bruce are all orphans who have different experiences with it, and it's like each one is more extreme than the other. Like Bruce is the most minor version. Okay, he was fine, and then Catwoman had her issues, obviously, and then the Riddler. So that really, I like how they do make it play together very well. Like it's not just a random villain they chose for the story. It's like no, there's actually more of a connection there, and that's why it makes sense that the Riddler would resent Bruce Wayne because he is a bit, he's like, oh, but you had all of this stuff that I didn't have, basically, and so he just wants to, out of sheer jealousy, just kill him for it. And so that tracks. So I like that characterization as well, and how he just genuinely expected the Batman to embrace him, and that he can't fathom, because again, that's pure Riddler ego narcissism there, and it's very on brand. Like how could you not be impressed by me and not want to come with me on this epic journey, even though he didn't seem to think it out all the way. Like he didn't think all the way through to the end. Like because again, Batman's not going to turn himself in and be your bunkmate.
But also, like he does say, "Oh, you didn't get the whole thing."
And that's kind of, in a way, I think makes the Riddler almost feel better about himself, because even he gets over the disappointment of the rejection by realizing, oh, I'm smarter than he is, and I thought he was pretty smart. Rather, because initially he seemed to think that they were equals, but now he's even happier being, even
superior.
Yeah, kind of like in The Dark Knight, where the Joker quickly gets over the disappointment of neither ferryboat blowing each other up by just Batman throwing him off the scaffolding and really going, haha, I did it, you've killed me, I've pushed you to your limits, type of thing. And
but I would say that Paul Dano, it does exactly, like, performance-wise.
Yeah.
If not costume, but I understand costume design. Like, I think it is an exceptional Riddler.
I think that once whatever happens, I assume that since they had that tease at the end, that we're going to see him again, not in a Hannibal Lecter sense, maybe in part 2, but I think at some point he's going to get out and he's going to start dressing more dapper, because now that he's made his point, he's done what he has to say.
No,
and he wants to
totally
get that,
set up. Yeah,
he wants to get that respect back. That he was going to get.
You're
did want to
Dapper Dan.
Yeah,
you're going to get the Dapper Dan one. It's just not going to be.
I wanted to introduce the new film scale. Is it better than Godfather?
Yes.
Like as a movie, yeah, I think it's a lot more entertaining, and it doesn't have any missing pieces in the story.
Okay.
So I think that works.
But no. But on this scale, yes.
I mean,
on
I do think it's a genuinely
scale,
better movie than The Godfather, but that's a whole other conversation for another time. Are there any other comments in the chat?
No one is here.
We're good. We're done.
Oh, wow. Any other final
We can hang up whenever.
Ernesto, final thoughts, my brother?
Not really.
Okay.
What a great show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, final thoughts?
It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Not that I thought it was going to be bad. I just had, again, trepidations over who they had picked for the director. And I really loved it. And I think it actually has the most rewatchability and replay value than a lot of the other Batman movies. So, because this one, again, it doesn't do the typical, we have to do all this exposition, we have to do the origins of each villain, blah, blah. It's like, it jumps right into it like a Batman comic. And it feels, of all the Batman movies, it feels the one that's most like any of the Batman comics I have on my shelf.
We don't have to do the alleyway with the pearls and the whole,
Yeah. And we don't need to make the movie too villain-centric. Like Scott said, it's doing a good job of making it Batman-centric, and the villains and the other colorful characters are not overshadowing Batman in the story.
I rolled right off of what Kat was saying. I really like this movie. I probably liked it more than everybody here, but it's the Batman movie I've been asking for, and I got it. And it's really nice when that happens. When you really want something, and then somebody makes it. And I think not only did he make it, I think we're gonna get at least two more, and a TV series at least. So I'm super happy. I thought the performances were great. I thought the cinematography was great. The shots just looked amazing. So I scored it probably a little higher than I should have, but I really liked the movie.
Yeah.
Well, I had never seen this movie before, and this is my first time seeing it. I liked it.
Mhm.
And you know what? I was scared because you hated this thing going in, and I was like, I hope to God he likes this movie. And you
Well,
did.
no, it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, Kat, where are you? Wait, no. Ernesto, are you on the internet? Good
Did you say
answer.
that?
Steve?
No.
Kat?
Yeah, I'm on the Fantasmagorium show. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Slice Night. And you can find me every second and fourth Sunday of the month, live streaming a show at 8 a.m. Pacific on the Virtual Cantina Network YouTube channel, Star Wars show. And yeah,
You've seen Star Wars?
Oh, that's right. Kat and I do a Star Wars show on Fridays.
that's right. Friday,
Check
Star
it
Wars show.
out. Lightsabers, blasters, and droids.
She said that she was on the Phantasmagorium show all the
I know,
time.
I know.
Anyway. Oh, Kat. I never said thank you.
And you'll never have to.
How do I turn this off? Where's the button?